Chapter 1276. Jiang Feng went into seclusion for a period of time. During this period of time, he had a hard time. The changes in the martial arts world were both opportunities and obstacles for him. The huge Murong's house was in a half-dead state. Murong Bo also went into seclusion all day long and ignored outsiders. Murong Ying was overseas and did not know when she would come back. During this period of time, he searched everywhere for news of his sister, but it was like a stone in the sea. Jiang Feng used Zhongguo's background to climb up the social ladder of some influential people. Through their connections, Jiang Feng also became a member of the Imperial Army. Moreover, his official position was not low. He held the position of a sergeant and was in charge of the entire Ji province. Originally, it was to target Li Fan, but who would have thought that Li Fan would go to the Spanish Equine to establish his own faction? He could not reach Li Fan in a short time, so he could only shut himself in the seclusion room to cultivate and train his martial arts. Even if he was unwilling to admit it, it was a fact that Li Fan was far stronger than him. When Jiang Feng was in seclusion, his mind was in a mess. He was clearly much stronger than Li Fan in the past, but why was he getting worse and worse? I can't accept this. Jiang Feng sat cross-legged on a small pavilion in the middle of a lake. He was surrounded by the gurgling sound of water and the lake was full of lotus flowers. But this could not make up for the pain in Jiang Feng's heart. He was only thinking about how to surpass Li Fan, defeat Li Fan, and get rid of this thorn in his side. Jealousy was like a burning flame, burning in Jiang Feng's heart. Why could he be stronger than him? He was such a good-for-nothing who could not even beat Li Fan. How could he change the martial arts world and save his sister Jiang Yi? Jiang Feng, can't you be stronger? Jiang Feng roared to the sky, and the surrounding lake water rippled. And at this moment, he heard a voice speaking in his ear. Do you want to be stronger? Nonsense, of course I do. Jiang Feng looked at his reflection in the lake. The shadow's face was dark and seemed to be asking him, I can give you strength. Really? What price do I have to pay? Jiang Feng asked. After death, there are 6 paths. They were the heaven path, the Azura path, the human path, the beast path, the wraith path, and the hell path. The one that suffered the most was the Azura path. This place was Azura, fighting and killing for all eternity. If you are willing to become an Azura, I will give you the power of an Azura. All right. Jiang Feng agreed without the slightest hesitation. You don't regret it. I don't look at life, I only look at the present. Jiang Feng did not hesitate. Furthermore, I've already seen the 9 truths technique. As long as I can comprehend it, I can transcend life and death. Last time when they were besieging the devil cult, Jiang Feng had secretly peeped at the wall that was engraved with the art of 9 truths. However, he couldn't comprehend it. No matter how he went into seclusion, it was to no avail. This made him even more anxious and triggered his inner demons. That's right, this is you. Heart Demon seemed to be very satisfied. He stretched out his hand towards Jiang Feng. What's so great about the 9 truths cultivation technique? Cultivate my Azura path and you will be invincible. Just to my liking. Jiang Feng also stretched out his hand and held on to Heart Demons. Jiang Feng felt like he was instantly pulled into the lake. The bone-chilling lake water instantly enveloped his body. At that moment, Jiang Feng felt like he was being embraced by death. It was as if the god of death was gently strangling his neck from behind. Jiang Feng's eyes widened. However, he held back his panic and waited for the moment of death. Only by falling into the Azura path would one become an Azura. At this moment, Jiang Feng's body suddenly emitted a blood-red light. It surrounded his body and slowly rotated. After a few minutes, his figure slowly grew out of the water. Very quickly, he stood on the surface of the water. This is the power of an Azura. He opened his eyes. His eyes were glowing red. Jiang Feng stretched out his hand and pointed at the lake with 2 fingers. A blood-red ray of light shot out, and the lake was blasted into a huge wave. This skill is not bad. Jiang Feng smiled. It is comparable to the 6-pulse godly sword in novels. With this level of skill, Li Fan would not be a problem. Jiang Feng was very satisfied. He directly sat cross-legged on the lake. A large amount of azure qi supported his body, allowing him to float without sinking. Not long later, a subordinate came to find Jiang Feng, saying that the commander wanted to see him. Got it. Jiang Feng had already guessed in his heart why the commander wanted to see him. He first took a bath and changed into a clean set of clothes before going to see Sima Hui. In Jiang Feng's heart, he did not care much about Sima Hui. This guy did not have any real ability. He was just a villain who stole other people's fruits of labor. Jiang Feng, why are you so late? Sima Hui looked at Jiang Feng, who came late. He frowned and questioned him. I am in closed-door training. Jiang Feng casually said, if there is nothing important, don't disturb me. You, Sima Hui was almost angered to death. This guy was too arrogant. But he had no one to use now and had to rely on Jiang Feng. Pack your things and go to El Province to take up your post. Oh. Are you asking me to confront Li Fan head-on again? Jiang Feng raised his eyebrows. It's good that you understand. Sima Hui nodded. If I let Li Fan continue to develop, I'm afraid that the royal army will be useless. What does that have to do with me? Jiang Feng chuckled. The royal army is just a place for me to live. Without it, I can still live freely elsewhere. You. Sima Hui choked with anger. What do you want? Sima Hui, you should step down. Jiang Feng crossed his arms and stood there, looking at Sima Hui. In your hands, the royal army will only become more and more miserable. In the end, they will lose the trust of the government and end up like the martial arts world. Bullshit. Sima Hui immediately became angry. Who do you think you are? How dare you make such a request of me? Hihi, who do you think you are? You are just temporarily fighting for the position of the commander for Murong. Do you really think that you are the boss? Shut up. Sima Hui angrily rebuked. Men, arrest him. But no one came in. The room was quiet, only the furious Sima Hui and the calm Jiang Feng. Men, come, come. Sima Hui shouted a few more times, but still no one came. Jiang Feng chuckled. Do you think that you are still the boss? Everyone has had enough of you. You. Before Sima Hui could finish his words, his throat was suddenly pierced by a red light. His eyes glazed over and he knelt on the ground. Jiang Feng kicked Sima Hui to the side and sat on his seat. Men. He ordered, and a few guards came in and knelt in front of him. We are willing to be at your service. Millimeter, from today onwards, I, Jiang Feng, am the commander of the royal army. Chapter 1277. Yin Juju was 16 this year. His family was well off, but his grades were not good. He dropped out of school in his first year of high school. Originally, according to his family's plan, he was to go abroad for 2 years and then do something when he returned. After Yin Juju dropped out of school, he played games at home every day. To him, this was the only way to pass the time. He wanted to follow his family's plan and go abroad after a while to pass the time. This thought lasted until Yin Juju saw the video on the internet. It was the one where the Chinese dragon god fought the Japanese samurai. This video made Yin Zhouzhou's blood boil. Later, he heard that the Chinese Shongfang sword had established a sect, so Yin Juju decided to go up the mountain to learn. His parents tried to stop him at first, but Yin Juju was very young and rebellious. Once he decided on something, no one could stop him. His family fought and quarreled, but in the end, they could only watch as Yin Juju went up the mountain. When he reached Seven Knights Villa, Yin Juju felt like he had come to another world. The architectural style of the Seven Knights Villa was like an ancient pavilion. The villa was surrounded by mountains and water. A mountain path led to the top of the mountain. Buildings with red bricks and green tiles were built on both sides of the path. According to a pretty tour guide, the Seven Knights Villa was also a tourist attraction. The lower half of the villa had a hot spring and a martial arts field for outsiders to visit. They could also enjoy the food in the villa. Yin Juju was here to become a disciple. When he told the tour guide, she was stunned. Disciple? I heard there are too many apprentices in the villa now. It's not easy to go up the mountain. It's okay. Sincerity can move metal and stone. Yin Juju made up his mind. He ignored the tour guide's advice and went up the mountain. The scenery along the way was not bad. It seemed like this place was meticulously renovated. Cherry trees were planted on both sides of the mountain road. Although it was not the season to admire flowers, it was unknown what method was used to make the cherry trees bloom so brilliantly. Yin Juju took some pictures with his phone and posted them on his WeChat to prove that he had arrived at Seven Nights Villa. Soon, there were comments below. First floor. Fuck, you really went there? Come back after playing for a while. We've missed you. Idol, remember to protect me when you come back. Yin Juju smiled, put away his phone, tidied up his backpack, and continued to walk up the mountain. According to the guide, the Seven Heroes sect was located halfway up the mountain. However, some disciples of the Seven Chivalry sect were blocking the way, not allowing tourists to go up the mountain. I'm sorry, but that's the inner mountain. It's not open to the public. A disciple saw Yin Juju coming up and politely stopped him. Senior brother, I'm not here to travel. I'm here to find a master. Yin Juju hurriedly cupped his hands and imitated the way the swordsman met in the TV series. Oh, become my disciple? The disciple looked at Yin Juju a few more times and said with some embarrassment. But now is not the time for us to accept disciples. Ah, do you have a schedule for accepting disciples? Yin Juju was shocked. Yes, because there are too many people coming to learn from us, we have changed the disciple recruitment to once a year. The exam will be held in June, and the disciple will be admitted in September. It was Lin Yuhin's idea, which was similar to the college entrance examination. The test was based on a combination of character and talent. Li Fan had said that those with bad character would not be accepted. As for those with poor talent, even if they were allowed to practice martial arts, it would be a waste of effort. However, they could learn some breathing techniques in the outer sect and practice ordinary martial arts to strengthen their bodies. Moreover, if they were able to achieve some results, they would be given the opportunity to enter the inner sect to cultivate. What Li Fan wanted was an absolutely fair opportunity. He did not want to breed that kind of discrimination in the sect. How can this be? I had a falling out with my family. I came all the way here just to learn from a master. It's only June now. If I wait any longer, it'll be next year. Yin Juju was about to go crazy. I'm really sorry, it's not up to us. The disciple scratched his head. You should go back. No, I must go up the mountain. Yin Juju was anxious. He carried his bag and walked up the mountain. Friend, please wait. The disciple stretched out a hand and pressed on Yin Jojo's shoulder. Yin Juju struggled with all his might but found out that he could not move at all. It was as if he was being pressed down by a big rock. Yin Jojo's forehead was filled with cold sweat, but he was a little excited. Yes, this is the life I want. I must become stronger, I must. He exerted force and actually knocked open the disciple's chest. Huh. The disciple was a little surprised. Not bad her. At this time, a beautiful female disciple wearing martial arts attire with a ponytail walked down the mountain. Seeing her, the disciples all cupped their hands and called her senior sister. You want to learn martial arts? Yes. Yin Juju nodded with all his might. His eyes were filled with anticipation. Your bone structure is not bad. It's worth nurturing. The beautiful senior sister nodded. Follow me. Yes. Yin Juju was overjoyed. He was actually handpicked by the beautiful senior sister. He proudly raised his head at the disciple and then followed behind the senior sister, going up the mountain together. The mountain path from the middle of the mountain to the top was steep. If an ordinary person were to climb up, they would definitely be exhausted. But this beautiful senior sister walked as if she was walking on flat ground, relaxed and happy. Yin Juju was already tired. His legs were like lead. But seeing how relaxed this senior sister was, his competitive spirit rose again. He bit the bullet and followed behind, not falling behind even a step. Let's take a break. But this senior sister was clever and could see that Yin Juju was trying to show off. She pointed to a stone next to her. I'm also a little tired, let's take a break. Hey, okay, Yin Juju gasped for breath. He sat down on the big stone. This stone was slightly hot from the sun, but it was not cold. It was just right for him to rest his feet. What's your name? The beautiful senior sister breathed evenly, looked at Yin Juju and asked. Replying to senior sister, my name is Yin Juju. Yin Juju looked at his senior sister and felt that she was full of heroic spirit. The other girls in the class were not as good looking as her. Senior sister. You. What's your name? My name is Wang Xiaoran. Wang Xiaoran took off her hair rope and tied her ponytail again. Call me senior sister from now on. Okay. Yin Juju was very excited. It seemed that he really succeeded in becoming her disciple. We've rested enough. Follow me, we're almost there. Wang Xiaoran said and started to hurry. Yin Juju did not dare to delay and quickly followed behind. Not to mention, looking at his senior sister's figure was also a kind of enjoyment. Coupled with the surrounding mountains and rivers, it was a beautiful scene that made people feel happy. But what was it like inside the Seven Chivalry sect? Chapter 1278. Yin Juju followed Wang Xiaoran and finally entered the legendary Seven Knights Villa. As soon as they entered, they saw a huge training platform in the shape of the 8 trigrams, built on the edge of the cliff. A group of about 100 disciples dressed in black and white martial robes were standing on the training platform, practicing. A youth of the same age as him was sitting on a chair above the training platform, giving pointers to the disciples. This is the inner sect training platform. Up there is our senior brother, Le Xiaohu. Wang Xiaoran introduced. He is in charge of teaching us new disciples. If that's the case, are we going to practice now? Of course not. Wang Xiaoran covered her mouth and chuckled, causing Yin Juju to be a little dazed. You have to go to Master's place and serve him tea, and also assign you a place to live. Oh, can I see? Master Li? Yin Juju immediately became excited. Yeah, you came at the right time. Master often travels, but recently he has been staying in the villa. If he is not here, I have no right to let you learn martial arts. Thank you, senior sister. Yin Juju felt that his luck was really good. To be able to join the best place to practice martial arts in China, it was simply wonderful. Yin Juju followed Wang Xiaoran along the repaired stone road, all the way to the depths of the villa. At this time, some men and women with swords and sabers on their backs walked in the villa. Senior sister, these are. Yin Juju felt that they were extraordinary and could not help but ask. These are the people of the pugilistic world, many of them are martial arts experts. They could not survive outside, so they relied on the villa and became its customers. Is our villa so powerful? Yin Juju became more and more excited. It's more than powerful. Wang Xiaoran was also very proud. The Seven Knights Villa bears the last responsibility of the pugilistic world. But all the pressure is on Master Li Fan. With him, we will prosper. If he is not, we are finished. This Seven Knights Villa is like a paradise. But one day, we will also have to go to the battlefield. This is an era of peace, we still have to go to the battlefield. Yin Juju was a little puzzled. Era of peace? You're wrong. Wang Xiaoran knew a thing or two. Very soon, it won't be peaceful anymore. It's all right, I'm willing to fight for the villa, Yin Juju said without hesitation. It's my honor. Of course, we don't want to fight either. In particular, the main purpose of practicing martial arts was to strengthen the body. Master will tell you all these after we enter the Nine Dragons Hall. After saying that, Wang Xiaoran led Yin Juju into a building deep within the city. There was a small courtyard outside the building. After entering, there was a small pond inside. It was like a place outside of civilization, and it was extremely quiet. Wang Xiaoran brought Yin Juju through the courtyard and into the hall. As soon as he entered the hall, he saw a huge mural hanging in front of him. There were 9 dragons of different colors painted on it. It was a bit like the 9 Dragons Wall in the Forbidden City. In front of the mural was an exquisite and beautiful sea of tea. A righteous and awe-inspiring youth was sitting in front of the sea of tea. Next to him was a masked woman who was making tea for him. On the bed next to him was a pretty little girl, reading a comic book in her hand. Yin Juju was very familiar with this youth. The moment he saw him, he was excited. Wang Xiaoran lightly patted his shoulder. "Master, Xiaoran is here to greet you." The person tasting the tea was none other than Li Fan. Seeing Yin Juju come in, Li Fan was puzzled for a moment, then glanced at his second disciple, Jiang Yi, who also shook her head. There were too many people in the villa, but Jiang Yi's ability to recognize people was very good. She had a photographic memory of anyone she saw. Therefore, sometimes, Li Fan would rely on Jiang Yi to recognize people. Since Jiang Yi didn't know him, then he should be a new guest. "Xiaoran, this is? Master, he's here to acknowledge me as his master." Wang Xiaoran cupped her hands and said, "Oh, your relative?" Wang Xiaoran's face turned red, hastily explaining, "Master, no, I saw him halfway up the mountain. His foundation is not bad, and his character is also good, so I brought him up the mountain on a whim." "All right." Li Fan nodded. "Since he's someone you recommended, then he should be a good person. Come in front of me." "Yes." Yin Juju immediately stepped forward and knelt in front of Li Fan. "Master, please accept this disciple's bow." As he spoke, he kowtowed with sincerity. Li Fan accepted this bow. This was the rule of acknowledging a master, so Li Fan still kept it. "Get up, what's your name?" Li Fan asked. "My name is Yin Juju." Yin Juju hastily stood up and answered. Jiang Yi, who was beside him, handed him a cup of tea. Jiang Yi casually pinched his shoulder, then nodded. Yin Juju wanted to thank her, thinking that he was thirsty. But when he saw Wang Xiaoran giving him a look, he immediately understood. Holding the tea with both hands, he toasted his master. "Master, please have some tea." "Yen, okay." Li Fan was a little impressed. This young man was quite clever. "Yin Juju, from today onwards, you are a disciple of the 7 Chivalry sect. However, there are 7 rules of the 7 Chivalry sect. You must remember them." "Master, please speak." "First, don't do evil. Second, don't be ruthless or brave. Third, don't deceive your master. Fourth, don't bully the common people. Fifth, don't kill your fellow disciples. Sixth, don't be disloyal or unfilial. Seventh, don't help the wicked." Disciple understands. Yin Juju thought to himself, these are all requirements for character. Although I'm a little willful at home, it seems like that's all I need to change. Yen, the 7 Chivalry sect has a total of 7 martial arts. Which one do you want to learn? Li Fan hadn't imparted the 9 dragons spell to his disciples yet. It wasn't that he didn't want to teach them, but training in martial arts was a gradual process. Seeing Yin Zhozhou's confused expression, Li Fan gave Wang Xiaoran a look. Wang Xiaoran immediately patted Yin Zhozhou's shoulder and introduced him. The 7 Chivalry sect has a total of 3 martial arts. The most basic is the 7 Chivalry fist. It has a total of 7 fist techniques: tiger strike, deer strike, bear strike, ape strike, crane strike, toad strike, and snake strike. You can choose one to practice. Once you reach the peak, you can practice the advanced martial art, the 7 Brilliance Fist. After you practice the 7 Brilliance Fist to the peak, you can learn the sect's highest martial art, the 9 Dragons spell. 9 Dragons spell. Sounds amazing. It is, but just the 7 Brilliance Fist is enough to take a while. Right now, even eldest senior brother and second senior sister haven't learned the 9 Dragons spell yet. Chapter 1279. Even eldest senior brother and second senior sister have not learned the highest level martial arts. Yin Juju felt like drooling. Of course, this is a matter for the future. If you start practicing martial arts at this age, your progress will be slower. But as long as you persevere, you will definitely achieve something. Wang Xiaoran patted Yin Zhozhou's shoulder. "Work hard. Make your choice." Li Fan took a sip of the tea brewed by his second disciple. As expected of the daughter of the Jiang family, they are indeed superior in this aspect. Whether it is tea arts or music, Jiang Yi is very outstanding. He can even be Li Fan's master. So difficult. Yin Juju glanced at the ceiling. There are 7 animals painted on it. Tiger, deer, bear, ape, crane, toad, snake. Each animal shows their own style, vivid and lifelike. Yin Juju looked at these animals, and something in his heart was awakened. Which one do you want to learn? I want to learn this. Yin Juju pointed at the giant toad above his head. He did not know why, but when he saw this, he felt a little excited. Toad strike. You have good eyesight. Li Fan could not help but laugh. Among the 7 martial arts, Toad Strike is the most difficult to learn, but after mastering it, it is the easiest to approach the Martial God True Body. Martial God True Body. That's the move that Master used when he fought with that island country's martial artist, right? Yin Juju recalled the scene in the video, and his blood started to boil. Indeed. Li Fan nodded his head. Golden light emitted from his back and quickly formed the appearance of a martial god. This is the strongest state that a martial artist can comprehend after training to the extreme, martial god true body. So cool, I also want to train to this state. Yin Jojo's eyes were filled with stars. Then work hard. Li Fan laughed. This senior sister beside you also trains in Toad Strike. You can learn more from her. Yen. Toad Strike emphasizes on the technique of Qi. Wang Xiaoran reminded Yin Juju, our inner force mental cultivation method is the improved 7 heroes force. What we train is essence Qi that surpasses true Qi. You must learn more and must not be lazy. Got it, senior sister. I will work hard. Yin Juju was so excited that he couldn't help but take out his phone and ask Li Fan anxiously. Master, can I post a selfie? Sure. Li Fan didn't mind. He watched Yin Juju excitedly take a selfie and post it on his WeChat moments. He smiled at Jiang Yi. Sometimes, I forget that I'm still a young man in his 20s. I feel like a weird uncle. It's just that your realm has increased. Jiang Yi hurriedly said, how many people worship you? Sigh, my mentality is getting old. This is not good. Li Fan instructed Wang Xiaoran, take Yin Juju to practice. I'll leave these new disciples to you. Don't worry, Master. I will do my best. Wang Xiaoran was very proud. She had entered the sect early, and now that she was their senior sister, seeing them look at her with worship, she couldn't help but feel happy. Master, this disciple will take his leave. After the 2 of them left the room, Li Fan put down the teacup, took out his phone, and glanced at his WeChat moments. Am I a bit pitiful? Hearing Li Fan's words, Jiang Yi couldn't help but laugh. Master, there are hundreds of people in the 7 Knights Villa. Actually, everyone has a WeChat. If you want to add them, just announce your WeChat number. Soon, you will be able to add a bunch of people's WeChat moments. Oh, is that so? Li Fan didn't believe it. If Master doesn't believe me, we can try. Jiang Yi said and took out her phone. I can announce your WeChat number to my WeChat moments. I think it won't be long before they will add your WeChat number. Okay, go ahead. Li Fan was looking forward to it. It was already the era of technology. He couldn't always live like an ancient person. This way, his understanding of information would be too backward. Especially now that the 7 Knights Villa had become a circle, Li Fan naturally wanted to blend in. Soon, Li Fan's phone showed that many people had added him. He was too lazy to do it, so he threw it to Jiang Yi and let her help him accept them one by one. Okay, Master, there are about 300 people who have added you. Jiang Yi handed the phone back to Li Fan. You can post it to your WeChat moments. Okay. Li Fan took the phone and thought for a moment. Then, he took a picture of the 7 beasts above his head. He made a message and sent it. Today, I accepted another disciple. I hope the 7 Knights sect will become stronger and stronger. In less than 10 minutes, there were hundreds of people who replied to his WeChat moments. Le Xiaohu, I want to watch Master. Long Fangyu, the 7 Knights sect is the model of our generation. I am willing to follow sect Master Li Huanglei. Instructor, I want to practice fist techniques. Wang Do, the person above is an idiot. Murong Ari, everyone, practice well. Let me worry less. Imperial concubine Ju, don't look for me to impart skills. Xia Yang, The new disciple is not bad. Luo Shuewu, I hope the Sword Reliance can see the light of day soon. Long Fengyu, I'm willing to help. Jin Jiumo, idiot. The two groups of people quarreled. Li Fan had a headache. The Sword Reliance and horse riding still don't like each other. They just have some small conflicts. Jiangyi explained, after all, Long Fengyu pursued Luo Shuewu. Later, nothing happened, so the two sides had a conflict because of this. Now that the pugilistic world is like this, how can they care about these things? Li Fan couldn't help but sigh. I hope they can put aside their conflicts and do something for the pugilistic world together. There were really no talents in the pugilistic world now. If they were busy fighting, the internal energy would be consumed very quickly. Especially when they had to deal with the imperial army internally and fight against the strong enemies of various countries externally. They couldn't relax at all. If they didn't take advantage of this time to conserve their energy, the future war might be very difficult to fight. While Li Fan was thinking, he suddenly received a message on WeChat. It was sent by Liu Xiaowan. Since there's nothing else, don't stay in the villa. Come to the film site. Xiaowan was filming in a nearby city. It was said that she was promoting a new actress. Although the matters of the film company had been almost settled, Xiaowan would sometimes go to see it in person. After all, she was now a famous producer in the circle. Only by nurturing a few powerful newcomers would the company be able to obtain more resources. Xiaowan was very ambitious. She wanted to set up her own cinema chain in the future. Li Fan couldn't help but send a message to Xiaowan. Why do you want me to go to the film site? I miss you. Come quickly. I've booked the plane ticket for you. You can arrive tomorrow. Okay. Recently, there was nothing to do in the villa. Li Fan decided to visit Xiaowan. She had been out shooting for a while. Jiang Yi, when I'm not in the villa, help Xia Yang to deal with the matters. If there's anything important, call me. Okay. Master. Don't worry. Chapter 1280. Li Fan flew directly to Dalian Harbor. Liu Wanna was filming a new drama with the crew, called My Wife is the Martial Arts Master. Li Fan sat in the room, looking at the script sent by Liu Wanna's assistant, and found that the story was very similar to his own. However, the background of the story was changed to university. The first scene was that he failed to confess his love, then he met the goddess Murong Ying, and obtained 10 years of inner force from her, and then he dominated the campus. Looking at the embarrassment of a certain person's failed confession, Li Fan was a little embarrassed. Damn it, looking at my past self, I feel so childish. Li Fan could not help but mutter. You're still as dumb as before. Dragon Girl sat at the side, shaking her little feet. After reading the script, she raised her head and winked at Li Fan. Fuck, I am so wise and powerful now. Li Fan curled his lips. Who wrote this script? I found someone to write it. Liu Wanna pushed the door and entered. Beside her was a beautiful young female assistant. What, do you want me to pay you a little copyright fee? Ahem, there is no need for that. Anyway, you are mine. Li Fan coughed twice. With the presence of the assistant, Liu Wanna was a little embarrassed. I am doing this to promote the Seven Knights Villa. In addition to Shen Chen and the Jiang sisters, you also have to come and play a role. Fuck. Who am I going to play? Li Fan was shocked. How could he be involved in this? You will play the role of the one who fought with you in the past. Liao something, the one who practiced the steely breaking hand. Liao Bing of the Thunderbolt Palm. Li Fan still remembered him, but he did not know how the Liao family of the Thunderbolt Palm was doing. Yes, you will play this role. Just 2 fighting scenes. After shooting, you will be done. I don't want to do it. I am not an actor, I am a martial artist. Li Fan said proudly, I have the dignity of a martial artist. Liu Wanna walked to Li Fan's side and whispered in his ear. I will give it to you tonight. But on the other hand, I am the chairman of the company. Contributing to the development of the company is what I should do. The assistant was relieved. Although she did not know what Liu Wanna said, it worked. The investor strongly requested Li Fan to play a role, even if it was a small role. Then familiarize yourself with the script. I'll introduce you to the other actors later. Liu Wanna reminded Li Fan, when the time comes, try to be polite, don't put on airs. Fan, you know me. I am not arrogant. Wanna, Liu Wanna knew me well. Liu Wanna. Liu Wanna naturally knew what he meant. Her cheeks turned crimson, and she wanted to scold him, but she didn't dare to. Anyway, you should familiarize yourself with the script. Diana, you'll be in charge of Director Li's matters for the next 2 days. If there's anything, remember to inform me immediately, okay? Wanna. Master said, I will do my best. The assistant nodded. Liu Wanna seemed to be busy with other things. She said a few words to Li Fan and left. Director Li, are you hungry? Do you want me to buy you something to eat? I am hungry. Dragon Girl raised her hand. I want to eat steamed buns. Ah, okay. There is a restaurant nearby that sells delicious steamed buns. Diana nodded. How much do you want? Buy me 20 trays first. Dragon Girl smacked her lips. Let me eat first. Diana did not know how to react. Go buy it. She has a big appetite. Li Fan nodded. Okay. Diana went out to buy the steamed buns. Li Fan lowered his head and continued to study his script. The scriptwriter obviously had some creative ideas. Liao Bing was even worse in the script. It seemed that he would not stop until he killed the male lead. Before Diana left, she also left a separate script, in which several scenes of Li Fan were selected. This was not bad. It should be to focus on shooting him first so that he could finish the scene earlier and not waste the crew's resources by staying here. When Diana came back, Li Fan had already memorized most of the lines. After all, he did not have many lines. He only had the same few lines, mainly fighting scenes. You have worked hard. Looking at Diana carrying big and small bags, Li Fan expressed his gratitude. No, it's okay. These are what I should be sitting on. Diana was slightly out of breath. It was indeed hard for a weak girl to carry so many steamed buns back. Li Fan gently placed his hand on her wrist and injected a stream of yuan qi into Diana's body, helping her to quickly calm down. Diana felt a little strange. Director Li was so magical. Just touching her could soothe the discomfort in her body. Amazing. What would happen if he touched her a few more times? Speaking of which, how long will this drama be filmed? Li Fan snatched 2 steamed buns from Dragonis' mouth and stuffed them into his mouth to satisfy his hunger. It is estimated to be about half a year. The investment is 100 million. Diana said, they hired the popular fresh meat, Yu Hui, to act. Hired fresh meat. His salary is not low, right? Well, the asking price was 100 million, but later on, for the director's sake, it was reduced to 80 million. Awesome. Li Fan sneered, the investment is only 100 million, and he alone took 80 million. The remaining 20 million, after deducting the salaries of others, is there still money left for filming? He probably can't even afford to rent the venue, right? Well, there's nothing we can do about it. Now the TV station and the audience recognize this. The fan effect is too powerful. Diana explained, and with your guest appearance, the investors added another 200 million. Fuck, am I worth so much money? Li Fan was a little surprised. Then how much do I get paid? That. Director Liu said that you are a guest star, so you don't need to be paid. Li Fan fell into a state of silence for a long time. How's it going? Liu WN pushed the door and walked in again. It will be your scene in a while. Let's take a car to the set. Fuck, you don't give me any time to rest. You're ordering this silly kid around. Li Fan complained incessantly. Hurry up and finish filming, so I can accompany you to walk around here. Liu WN winked at Li Fan. I bought a new swimsuit, I want to wear it for you. Okay, work must be done quickly. As the saying goes, today is the end of today. Li Fan patted his chest and stood up. Watch my performance. I guarantee that our producer Liu will be satisfied. Hee, glib tongue. You, just do your best. Anyway, you standing here is the biggest gimmick. Li Fan muttered in his heart, Do I have such a big celebrity effect? I'm just a martial artist, not a star. Chapter 1281. Li Fan arrived at the set in Liu Wen's nanny car. Because it was a school drama, they had rented a place from a school. Many of the scenes were shot in this place to save on filming costs. Yu Hui was indeed a popular fresh meat. When Li Fan entered the set in the car, he found that it was surrounded by students, many of whom were Yu Hui's fans. Many of them were holding banners in their hands, cheering for their idol or wanting to catch a glimpse of him. However, the filming location was probably closed, so these fans could only wait there, hoping for a chance to catch a glimpse of their idol. But they might not be able to catch a glimpse of their idol even if they waited for a whole day. At this time, it was still drizzling slightly, but these fans were still standing outside the set, holding banners to support their favorite idol. This Yu Hui has acted in many Shenxia dramas a while ago, so he became popular all of a sudden. Liu Wen sat next to Li Fan and explained to him, as long as he is around, even if our drama is a little lousy, it can still sell well. Why do we have to make it lousy? Li Fan was a little unhappy. Can't we grasp the details, make a good script, act well, and shoot a good classic? There are many steps from preparation to filming, and some of them may be difficult to control. Liu Wen sighed, it's even more difficult to find a reliable filming team. Just like XX List a while ago, their filming team was very good, and they carefully polished their work. But this team is very popular now, and if you want to find them to film, you'll have to wait for a few years. I don't care about other companies, and I don't care about the current market. Li Fan had strict requirements for Liu Wen. Even if we don't use these fans, even if we can only shoot web dramas, I want our drama to be carefully crafted with a conscience. It's okay to lose money. Just pay, I can afford it. Li Fan said without hesitation, it's their business to invest in the works of other companies, how they film it. But our own company has to prepare for the filming, so we must have a conscience. Can you respect this request of mine? Alright, if this is your wish, I am willing to fulfill it for you. Liu Wan nodded. From the next movie onwards, we won't look for those big names. We'll spend every penny we invest in the right places. That's right. This is the senior sister I like. Li Fan was pleased to hear this. Let's discuss important matters in the future and plan for the world. Go to hell. You think you can conquer the world? Liu Wan was amused by Li Fan. Anyway, you're the one paying. I don't care if you lose money. With my genius girl here, how could I possibly suffer a loss? I'm not a genius girl. You're praising Lin Yuhin, aren't you? Do you miss her? When Liu Wan asked this, her jealousy was flying everywhere. This. Dragon Lady, do you still have any buns left? No matter how he answered this question, Li Fan simply chose to change the topic. HMPH, cunning man. Liu Wan rolled her eyes at Li Fan. At this moment, the car suddenly stopped. What's the matter? Director Liu, there's a wire hanging in front. The road is blocked and our car can't get in. The driver answered. Then let's wait for a while. Liu Wan had just finished speaking when Li Fan waved his hand. It's fine. We're already there. Let's get out and take a few steps. It's not convenient. Liu Wan looked outside. Many fans were still surrounding them. It's fine. I'm not a celebrity. Let's get out. Li Fan said as he opened the door and got out of the nanny van. As soon as he got out of the car, the fans outside became excited. Li Fan. It's Li Fan. Oh my god, he's Li Fan. He's so handsome. Hubby, look here. Looking at these excited female fans, Li Fan was also taken aback. What was going on? Since when was he so popular? Get in the car. Liu Wan pulled Li Fan back into the car and lectured him. Are you crazy? Getting out of the car like this? Aren't you afraid of causing big news? What's going on? When did I become so popular? Li Fan was very puzzled. Looking at the fans shouting outside, he was a little confused. Fool, you're no longer the Li Fan that only belongs to the underworld. Ever since your battle with Takeda, everyone in China knows who you are, Li Fan. Otherwise, why do you think the investors spent 200 million to invite you? They love you. It's all because of your celebrity effect. Okay. Li Fan deeply reflected on himself in front of Liu Wen and expressed that he would not make such a mistake again. Millimeter, that's more like it. Wait in the car for a while. We'll be there soon. Li Fan looked outside. Looking at the enthusiastic female fans, he could not help but ask. But it's not good to let them wait in the rain. Don't worry. After you finish filming, you can come and thank them. Moreover, they're all Yu Hui's fans. If you come and greet him first, Yu Hui will think that you're deliberately stealing his fans. Millimeter, I'll listen to you. Li Fan curled his lips. But this Yu Hui is really pretentious. This circle is like this. Liu Wan smiled. Everyone pretends to be careless, but in fact, they're more sensitive than anyone else. We're just here to make a guest appearance. If we can avoid trouble, we'll try our best to avoid it. Do you think I'm afraid of Yu Hui? Of course you're not afraid. But we still have to film this movie. Liu Wan coaxed Li Fan in various ways. Be good. Just treat it as giving me some face. Fine. Since you're my boss, I'll listen to you. Looking at the weariness between Liu Wan's brows, Li Fan felt a little heartache. Recently, she must have been working hard. In order to promote the company's newcomer, she must have put in a lot of effort. Okay. The road is open. Let's go. Liu Wan glanced at the road and ordered the driver. Yes, Director Liu. The driver didn't dare to delay and quickly drove the car in. The car drove all the way to the set. When Li Fan got out of the car, he saw a man wearing a shirt and trousers, working hard to hang a wire. Oh, this Yu Hui, he's quite hardworking. Where? Yu Hui is sitting over there. Liu Wan pointed to the side. Li Fan turned his head and saw a handsome man wearing sportswear. He was sitting on the chair he brought. His assistant was standing at the side, serving him tea. For this kind of martial arts drama, these big shots won't personally come up to act. Liu Wan explained. It's already very good that he's here. They're spoiled. Li Fan coldly snorted. Motherfucker. After spending money, they invited this bunch of grandsons to come and be their masters. Chapter 1282. Yo, Director Liu is here. Aya, Li Fan, Hero Li, you're here too. The director was wearing a casual singlet and holding a script in his hand. He was originally staring at the screen, but when he looked up and saw Li Fan and the others, he immediately walked up to them with a smile. According to Liu Wen, this director was relatively young and a new director, but he had more ideas and was quite serious when filming. After all, most of the money had been used to hire Yu Hui, so the director couldn't use a big name anymore. Director Wang, you've worked hard recently. As the producer, Liu Wen had some authority here. Many young actors surrounded them and asked about their well-being. It's nothing. It's what I should do. Director Wang combed his hair and had a slightly oily face. It was said that he used to be an actor. He turned around and waved to an actress who was rehearsing her lines next to him. Xiaomeng, hurry up, your producer is here. Hey, she's here. A pretty young girl wearing a violet cheongsam appeared. When she heard the director calling her, she immediately looked up and saw Liu Wen. Ah, Director Liu. The young girl was very happy. With her black hair draped over her shoulders, she wore a cheongsam and skipped over. The assistant followed beside her, looking as if she was afraid that something would happen to her. Li Fan, let me introduce you. This is our company's new actor, Dongfang Meng. Liu Wen patted the young girl's shoulder. Both girls were very tall, and when they stood together, they were very eye-catching. You're Li Fan. Hello. When Dongfang Meng saw Li Fan, she looked a little surprised and didn't know what to say for a long time. Why are you so nervous, little girl? Li Fan laughed. Don't be afraid, I won't eat you. It's. Li Fan. Oh no. Teacher Li, Liu Wan gently pinched Li Fan. Xiaomeng is quite shy. She didn't know how to speak in her previous company, so she was frozen. So that's how it is. Did you dig it out? Li Fan comforted the little girl. Work hard, in our company, you will get more opportunities to develop. Thank you. Dongfang Meng bowed deeply toward Li Fan. It's not easy for everyone to film. The crew must have worked hard. How about this? I'll treat everyone to a meal today. Li Fan reached out and called for Diana. Are there any good restaurants nearby? There's a sushi restaurant, sure. Bring a few people and buy some sushi. One for everyone. Li Fan treated the crew to a meal and immediately won the favor of most of them. Sometimes, the crew would film from morning till night, and the food they ate was mainly boxed lunches. No matter how sumptuous a boxed lunch was, there would come a time when one would get sick of it. If someone came to improve their meals, they would definitely be overjoyed. Poor Diana, she went to help Li Fan buy food again. But this time, he brought a few of the crew members with him. Oh, Teacher Li, you're too kind. The director surrounded Li Fan and kept talking to him. Is there anything you don't understand about the role? Do you want me to help you? Okay, then I'll have to trouble you. Liu Wen gave Dongfang Meng a look, asking her to accompany Li Fan more. As long as she left a good impression on Li Fan, he would definitely take her along. However, Dongfang Meng was clumsy. When she helped Li Fan with a glass of water, she accidentally spilled the water on Li Fan's legs, which made Li Fan not know whether to laugh or cry. In the past, he always thought that muddle-headed girls only existed in novels, but now it seemed that they existed in real life too. Liu Wen had a unique eye for choosing such a girl. Was it really okay for her to play the role of Murongying? But Liu Wen's eyes were probably not wrong. While Li Fan was surrounded, Yu Hui was sitting on the other side, accompanied by his assistant. Brother. Look, the assistant murmured as he fanned Yu Hui. He's just an internet celebrity. Yu Hui didn't care and curled his lips. He made some fake videos and gained some popularity. He even tried his best to shoot a scene with me. I've seen a lot of people who rely on hype to get famous. Brother. He's stealing your limelight. Should I think of a way to suppress him? The assistant asked. He's just a small character. Yu Hui, will not take this kind of person seriously. Yes, brother is really magnanimous. Help me choose a photo and Photoshop it. Yu Hui threw the phone to the assistant. The assistant carefully selected one from these selfies, photoshopped it for Yu Hui, and returned it to him. Okay, post it on my Weibo. Say that my leg was injured for the scene, but I will work harder to play the role of Li Fan and dedicate it to everyone. Okay, leave it to me, brother. The assistant immediately made up a Weibo post and posted it. In a short while, it was shared over 100,000 times. Many of Yu Hui's fans felt sorry for him and advised him not to work too hard. On the other side, the stunt double was still working hard on the wire, practicing the next scene. Director, are we still filming? We still have a commercial performance to catch up on, the assistant shouted at the director. Oh, sorry to keep you waiting. Let's start right away. The director didn't dare offend Yu Hui. Since he was part of the cast, he naturally had to treat him like an ancestor. This, Teacher Yu, the next scene will be between you and Liao Bing. Please change your clothes and practice your lines. The assistant director came up to ask. Got it. Yu Hui didn't say anything. His assistant waved his hand and a stylist and makeup artist came up to help Yu Hui change his clothes. Sigh, he's only been here for a little over an hour and is still talking about going to a commercial performance. The director couldn't help but sigh. I only have 8 hours a day to film him. He's been counting the time since he left the hotel. If this goes on, he won't be able to finish his scenes. Only 8 hours a day. What's going on? Li Fan was a little confused. I'll explain it to you, director. You can adjust yourself first. Liu Wen sat next to Li Fan and explained. Actors are signed according to the number of days, especially for an actor like Yu Hui. He's even more meticulous, down to the second. A film doesn't mean that the actors have to film with you from start to finish. Take Yu Hui for example. We signed him for 100 days, but he only has 8 hours to work every day. Moreover, An actor like Yu Hui doesn't stay in the same hotel as us. He has to stay in a 5-star hotel by himself. We also have to provide him with a nanny van and arrange food and accommodation for his entire team. His daily expenses were at least 500,000 yuan. Also, he has to count the time since he left the hotel. Excluding traffic jams and makeup on the spot, the rest of the filming time is pitiful. Fuck, then what do I need him for? Li Fan's eyes widened. Chapter 1283. Actually, we just need his face. Liu Wanna quickly explained, as long as we have his face, our ratings will be guaranteed. And as I said before, the TV station now recognizes this. If we want to access the satellite channel, we can't do it without these big shots. It's purely because of the spoiling. Li Fan coldly snorted. Who set this rule? Because of this, China's film and television industry began a vicious cycle and became worse and worse. Teacher Li, please practice your lines. The assistant director came to invite Li Fan. Li Fan had changed his clothes at this time. Liao Bing's clothes were relatively simple, just a plain short shirt, convenient to travel in the industry. Li Fan's hair was specially arranged by the stylist, making him look very spirited. He walked in front of the camera, even the director could not help but nod. This Li Fan was quite photogenic. Third episode, 6th scene, once. The staff hit the board. Li Fan stood face to face with Yu Hui, who had already changed his clothes. Li Fan, you want to marry my goddess? Li Fan, who played Liao Bing, scolded Yu Hui, who played his role, trash. Today, I'll let you know what is the real martial arts world. Yu Hui stood there with a look of contempt, spitting out a few words. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Li Fan was stunned for a moment. What was going on? Cut. The director hurriedly stopped and then said to Li Fan, Teacher Li, don't hesitate, it's your turn. Wait a minute, what's going on with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Li Fan frowned. Why don't you even know this? This is our brother's line. Yu Hui's assistant looked at Li Fan with a look of contempt. How can you be an actor if you don't even know this? Teacher Li, this, Yu Hui's line will be added after the dubbing. He can't even remember his lines, and he still wants to act his grandpa's play. With Li Fan's temper, he did not want to spoil him. Get him to memorize his lines and act with me. Otherwise, get lost. Hey, you're throwing a tantrum. You're just a small internet celebrity. What right do you have to fire our brother? Yu Hui's assistant glared at Li Fan. Director Li, what happened? At this time, Liu Wanna walked over and bowed to Li Fan before asking. Yu Hui, who was standing at the side, was immensely pleased with himself. When he heard Liu Wanna's greeting, he was immediately stunned. Director Li? What does Dong mean? Lil Wan, cancel the contract with this idiot and get someone else to do it. All right. Although it would result in considerable losses, since it was Li Fan's wish, Liu Wanna did not hesitate at all. She waved her hand and called for Diana. Diana, draft a termination agreement. Wait. What do you mean by this? Yu Hui was stunned, but he didn't say anything. His assistant didn't let him off and stepped forward to question him. Our brother pushed back many schedules to come here. How can you just cancel the contract just like that? We'll pay you compensation, and then you can do whatever you want. With Li Fan around, Liu Wanna, who was usually gentle, had a very tough attitude today. The director sat on the side and didn't dare to say anything. Anyway, the company was paying for the filming, so he just had to do it. Although they had filmed a lot of scenes before, most of them were shot by stunt doubles. It wasn't a problem to shoot again. At most, it was a matter of budget. But wasn't Li Fan the chairman? As long as he gave them money, they could do anything. You'd better not regret it. The assistant was trembling with anger. Diana, post an official Weibo to explain that the so-called fresh meat, Yu Hui, was acting like a big shot and didn't act seriously, so he was terminated by the crew. Li Fan deliberately raised his voice to Diana. But this little assistant was a little busy. Without me, Who would watch your lousy show? Yu Hui finally couldn't take it anymore and he cursed. With you, perhaps the ratings will be very high. Li Fan stood there and looked at the fresh meat in front of him. But our production company will definitely be rained down with abuse. When the time comes, you'll take the money and gain popularity, and then you'll turn around and leave. We'll be the scapegoat. Why should we owe you? Let me tell you, Yu Hui, you're not an actor at all. You should be called an internet celebrity. You're so unprofessional and rely on your face to make a living. I'll give you a word of advice. Be careful of your own destruction. Let's go. Yu Hui was also unbearably angry. The crew belonged to Li Fan. He couldn't stay here, so he could only hide. But it was a little awkward here. Once Yu Hui left, the male lead was gone, and the group of people began to stare at each other. I say, Director Li, which actor should we look for? Do you want me to recommend a few? I have some understanding of the position of this role. The director came up with the names of a few stars and told them to Li Fan. Why should we look for them? Isn't there a ready-made one? Liu Wnr smiled sweetly and gently placed her hand on Li Fan's shoulder. Isn't that right, Li Fan? Li Fan felt his calf twitch. That's right. Director Li can act as himself. How wonderful. When the director heard that, he quickly clapped his hands and praised, I think Director Li's qualities are not bad. He's very suitable for the role. Why don't you do it yourself, Director Li? Yeah. I think Director Li is also very good. Much better than Yu Hui. Everyone in the crew followed suit and flattered him, making Li Fan a little confused. Look, so many people want you to do it. Just agree. Liu Wnr massaged Li Fan's shoulders as she urged him to do it. Is this okay? Okay, Director Li. You had a good feeling just now. The director kept flattering him. I swear on my years of experience as an actor and my foresight as a director that you're definitely an excellent actor. Ah, is that so? Yeah, just do it yourself. This way, our crew can save a lot of money. Isn't it better to spend the money where it's most needed? With a bunch of people fooling him, Li Fan felt a little smug. Then I'll try. Shoot a couple of scenes and see. If it doesn't work, we can change the male lead. I'll pay for it. Looking at Liu Wnr's triumphant smile, Li Fan felt as if he had fallen into a trap. After all, the crew had only been shooting for a few days. Even if they changed the male lead, it wouldn't be a loss. As long as Li Fan was willing to back him up, the drama could be saved. The group of people passed the script, put on makeup, and started shooting again. But early the next morning, the news came out. It was said that the internet celebrity Li Fan had maliciously slandered and pressured the male actor, Yu Hui, in order to create hype, resulting in the replacement of the male lead. Li Fan was personally acting as the male lead. Such a vile method of creating hype should be criticized. When this news came out, the fans were in an uproar. All kinds of Yu Hui's diehard fans and the internet water army all ran to the official Weibo account to curse. Slandering our husband, what kind of dogs are you? Stupid TV drama. Without my husband, there won't be any ratings. Ugly Li Fan, jealous of my husband, your whole family will die. Chapter 1284. It's just a public opinion battle. It's a common tactic. You don't have to worry about it. Liu Wnr saw that Li Fan was scrolling through Weibo. Afraid that he would be angry, she quickly massaged his shoulders and legs to comfort him. No, I'm not angry. Li Fan raised his head and smiled, it's just a bunch of brainless fans. Scolding them won't affect my work. Terminating the contract with Yu Hui was my decision. I've already expected this kind of pressure. If I can't even bear this, how can I still be considered a grandmaster? It's a good thing that you're broad-minded. However, their scolding is indeed unpleasant. I'll arrange for the media to start a public opinion battle with them. Comforting Li Fan was one thing, but Liu Wnr herself was not happy about it. Li Fan was the man she liked. This man had sacrificed everything for China, but now he was being scolded by a bunch of brainless fans. Why? Li Fan was broad-minded, but she, Liu Wn, was narrow-minded. Why bother? Once our drama is out, we'll just talk about the quality. Don't worry, my dear. I've already prepared for this. Liu Wn honestly admitted, it was indeed my plan to let you be the male lead. I know that if I invited you directly, you definitely wouldn't come. But using this kind of method to force you is like forcing a duck onto a perch, it will most likely succeed. Lin Yu-hin and I have already deduced the events before and after. We naturally have a way to deal with it. This Yu Hui is inverting black and white. We'll deal with it as it comes and let him reap what he sowed. You too. Everything has been calculated by you. After Li Fan heard this, he also smiled bitterly. When these two girls with high IQ were together, no one could escape from their schemes. Aya. We're doing this for your own good. Why must I play this role? This is our wish. Liu Wan gently leaned on Li Fan's shoulder. Her hair fell on his chest. She lowered her voice and whispered in Li Fan's ear. You've done too much for the martial arts world. We all hope to let the people of Huaxia know that there's a hero like you. I'm not doing this for them to see. Li Fan put his arm around Liu Wanna's shoulders and looked at her big sparkling eyes. He couldn't help but feel moved. This is my responsibility. The duty of the Shongfang sword is to protect all of you, not to be like that Yu Hui, who only knows how to play to the gallery. My life is a fight, not a show. I don't care. I want everyone to worship you. Liu Wanna began to act like a spoiled child in Li Fan's embrace. Okay. I'll listen to you. But, you did this behind my back, so you should compensate me. How are you going to compensate me? Pay you some salary? The debt of love shall be paid with my body. As Li Fan spoke, he pushed Liu Wanna onto the table and lifted up the hem of her uniform skirt. Don't. This is the lounge, that's why it's exciting. As Li Fan spoke, he waved his hand and the door closed with a bang. He used his primordial qi to seal the door so that outsiders could not enter. No. They'll hear the sound, just bear with it and don't scream. I can't help it. Li Fan had a way. Liu Wan was wearing a string thong. He directly untied it and stuffed it into Liu Wan's mouth, which made Liu Wan embarrassed and angry, but she couldn't do anything to Li Fan. Li Fan went straight in, and Liu Wan lost her temper. While the crew was busy shooting, all kinds of insulting posts about Li Fan filled Weibo, and directly pushed Li Fan to the top of the list. Some fake martial arts masters, some malicious hype, and some even said that the Seven Knights Villa maliciously cheated tourists and cheated them of their money. There were all kinds of public opinion, and the whole public was raining down curses on Li Fan. Yu Hui sat on the deck of his cruise ship, looking at these Weibo posts on his phone, and smiled with satisfaction. HMPH, you want to fight with me, Yu Hui? Look at yourself first. In addition to filming, Yu Hui was secretly kept by a rich and powerful woman. Knowing that Yu Hui had been wronged, the rich woman was also very unhappy. All kinds of internet water army and rumors were overwhelming, just to make Li Fan fall into the most terrible abyss once again. I want you to know how terrible the public opinion of netizens is. I want you to die in the groundless condemnation and never be able to raise your head again. Yu Hui laughed, as if he had already imagined the tragic scene of Li Fan's company going bankrupt, being alone, and finally committing suicide by jumping off a building. But Yu Hui's complacency did not last long. 2 days later, a video was pushed to the top of the search list. In the video was the scene of Yu Hui shooting in the crew. It was all about how Yu Hui acted like a big shot, how lazy he was, and how he pretended to be injured to gain sympathy by pretending to be himself in a martial arts scene. And the last scene was the scene of Yu Hui and Li Fan. Yu Hui said a number and was scolded by Li Fan. When Li Fan finished saying "be careful of yourself," the video came to an abrupt end. Why is there such a video? Yu Hui flew into a rage in his own studio. He pointed at his assistant and scolded, "Who the fuck recorded this?" Usually, when filming in a crew, there were very few people who would release an internal video. The major companies and crew knew what kind of people these actors were. Once such a video was leaked, It would be very difficult for the crew and company in charge of filming to find other actors to film. However, in the battle of public opinion, this kind of video was like a nuclear weapon. The assistant was also dumbfounded. How could he have expected such an unexpected situation? Previously, he had slandered Li Fan in all kinds of ways on the internet, saying how he was making fun of Yu Hui, who was working hard. Now, a video had directly exposed the truth of the matter. It was simply a naked slap in the face. For a moment, a war of public opinion began on the internet again. Coinciding with the current hot news of young male idols being unprofessional, the entire Weibo exploded. In the past, Li Fan had a lot of fans. Now, the camp of fans was expanding rapidly. Many people liked Li Fan's 3 viewpoints. Meanwhile, Yu Hui's fans were completely brainless. All kinds of people said that they could not remember their lines and shouted numbers were common. There were also people who said that it was enough for their husband to be good-looking. There was no limit to how low they could go. Following that, a well-known anchor with millions of fans began to broadcast an all-day tour of the 7 Nights Villa. The beautiful scenery of the villa instantly attracted a lot of attention. And with the help of his cousin, Yin Juju, this anchor even entered the interior of the 7 Nights Villa and broadcast some content of the internal training. But when they saw a female disciple using qigong and leaping over a 3-meter-high wall, all the fans could not sit still. Wuxia was not a gimmick, nor was it a fake video. Li Fan's popularity was instantly guaranteed, and the 7 Nights Villa also rose in popularity. A large number of tourists poured into the villa. Chapter 1285. Evil never triumphed over good. Li Fan had always believed in the rationality of these words. The battle of opinions on Weibo had finally proven the meaning of these words. Yu Hui's popularity plummeted. Although there were still some hardcore fans, it was obvious that he had become a grasshopper after autumn. He wouldn't be able to last long. Looking at Li Fan's popularity, it was rising. A clip of him filming was also posted online. Watching Li Fan's serious expression while filming a martial arts scene, he attracted a large number of fans. He was a real man, not a sissy. Not only did he have female fans, but he also had male and female fans. Everything went according to Lin Yuhin and Liu Wan's plan. The two girls added fuel to the fire and sent Li Fan into the Hall of Fame. This wasn't a reputation that ordinary people could obtain. However, Li Fan wasn't interested in these things. He only wanted to finish filming the TV series and return to the villa. Li Fan wasn't at ease leaving only Xia Hu and Jiang Yi in charge of the villa. The main reason was that he had recently heard that Jiang Feng had become the new commander of the Imperial Army. This guy was a powerful opponent. Now that he had climbed to such a high position, it was impossible for him not to have thoughts about Lin Fan. Li Fan was right. Jiang Feng was already preparing to deal with the 7 Nights Villa. He disguised himself and stood at the foot of the 7 Nights Mountain. He looked at the lively 7 Nights Villa and asked the beautiful girl beside him, "Wuxin, look at this place. What do you think? It looks prosperous, but it's only on the surface." Shui Wuxin was wearing the uniform of the embroidered uniform guards. She was Jiang Feng's right-hand man. "Your words clearly have some personal feelings." Jiang Feng folded his hands in his sleeves and looked up at the mountain. "You have to look at things objectively. As the saying goes, know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. If you are biased against this place, how are you going to win against Li Fan?" "Yes, Lord, you are right. I was wrong." Shui Wuxin bowed to Jiang Feng to show her remorse. "This place can be considered a treasure." Jiang Feng sighed with emotion. "It's surrounded by mountains and rivers. Although that Li Fan isn't much, he does have a few capable helpers by his side, and they helped him choose such a feng shui treasure land." Jiang Feng seemed a little envious. "If Milord likes it, I'll get it for Milord." Shui Wuxin volunteered. "Oh, I'd like to hear how you're going to take down this place for me. This 7 Chivalry Mountain Villa has taken in many people of the martial world. As long as we can bribe some of them and coordinate with us from the inside, We will definitely be able to attack the root of the problem and take down the manor. It's a good plan, but Li Fan is also an expert. If he's in charge of the villa, how are we going to deal with it? Find an opportunity to transfer Li Fan away. As the saying goes, luring the tiger away from the mountain. At that time, won't this place be at my mercy? Shui Wuxin's explanation made Jiang Feng clap his hands happily. Not bad. After following me for so long, you have indeed improved. Thank you for your praise, my lord. Shui Wuxin's face was red. She was secretly happy to be praised by Jiang Feng. It's just a pity that you forgot one thing. What is it? This place is a tourist attraction approved by the government. Jiang Feng pointed at the 2A tourist attraction at the side. With this thing, how do you think we can lead the troops up the mountain? This, Shui Wuxin was also stunned. She really had no way to solve this problem. That's why I said that there are some talents around Li Fan. They have already predicted this move of ours, so they gave the 7 Chivalry Mountain Villa the appearance of a tourist attraction. This way, they have the government backing them. If you and I want to take down this place, we can only go up the mountain and challenge the villa master, Li Fan, and make him give up the villa to us. I'm willing to fight for my lord. Shui Wuxin hurriedly begged. No rush. Jiang Feng waved his hand. Moreover, you're not that Li Fan's opponent. He has defeated Murong Bo and Takeda. His nickname of Little Tyrant is not for nothing. What about you, my lord? If I were to fight against him, I'd probably have a 50-50 chance of winning. Jiang Feng carefully weighed his current strength, but we need to have a plan and have 100% chance of winning. Otherwise, I won't make a move. Then, my lord, what do you think we should do? Recuperate. Jiang Feng said without hesitation. A while ago, my royal army fought against Li Fan and lost many generals. What we need to do now is to recuperate. At the very least, we need to nurture some powerful generals. My lord is right. Shui Wuxin nodded. My royal army indeed needs some powerful warriors. Originally, there were still some experts in the White Tiger Hall. But after Sai Mahui took office, he has been suppressing them. In my opinion, this is a good opportunity to mobilize them. Then I'll handle this matter for my lord. Shui Wuxin understood and cupped her hands. The White Tiger Hall's people were scattered all over China. I'm willing to find them one by one. As expected of my trusted subordinate. Jiang Feng was very touched. He stretched out his hands and held Shui Wuxin's hands, causing Shui Wuxin's heart to beat faster. It's good to have you by my side. My lord. My lord. You're too polite. This is what I should do. You don't understand how important you are to me. Jiang Feng sighed. Shui Wuxin was also very emotional and said, My lord, no matter where you go, I'm willing to be by your side. I'll be at your beck and call and take the lead. Don't say that. I actually hope that you can protect yourself. If anything happens to you, my heart will ache. I understand. My lord. Then I'll go to work. Go. Jiang Feng watched Shui Wuxin leave. After Shui Wuxin left, he suddenly started to walk towards the mountain. The scenery along the way was very beautiful. Jiang Feng was not in a hurry. He walked on the mountain while playing. When he was hungry, he would eat at the roadside stalls. He was like a tourist, playing while hurrying on his way. When he was halfway up the mountain, he saw many tourists queuing in front of a shop to buy something. The queue was like a long dragon, and it stretched very far. Jiang Feng was a little curious. He could not help but walk up and pull a girl to ask, Beautiful lady, may I know what you're buying? The girl was displeased to be disturbed. However, when she raised her head and saw a handsome man standing in front of her, she immediately became happy again. Was this a romantic encounter? That. They're selling an autographed photo of Li Fan, oh? Jiang Feng's interest was piqued. He quickened his steps and arrived in front of the vendor. The people queuing behind him were unhappy and shouted at him. Hey, what are you doing? Don't cut the line. Everyone, please calm down. I'm not buying anything. I'm just asking a few questions. Jiang Feng smiled warmly. For some reason, His smile made the people behind him quiet down. The girl who had been questioned by Jiang Feng before was even more infatuated. She even went up to Jiang Feng and invited him to take a picture. Jiang Feng very amiably agreed. Many people came over to take photos with Jiang Feng, and Jiang Feng agreed to all of them. As the highest commander of the royal guards, he did not put on any airs at all. After taking photos with the tourists, the sky was getting dark. Jiang Feng continued to walk up the mountain. Xia, who was already standing in front of the mountain gate. She extended her hand to invite Jiang Feng. "Commander Jiang, welcome. Sorry for not coming out to greet you. You're too kind. I came uninvited and disturbed the villa." Jiang Feng was very polite. He cupped his hands and looked apologetic. "I heard that the villa has beautiful scenery, and I miss my brother, Li Fan, so I wanted to come up and take a look. My master has always been hospitable. Moreover, you're his sworn brother." After Xia who finished speaking, she led Jiang Feng into the depths of the villa. The Seven Chivalry Villa is indeed well managed. Looking at the villa that was like a paradise, Jiang Feng was full of smiles. "It would be great if I could stay here for a long time. It's a pity that I have an important position and can't get away from it. If you like it here, I'll ask someone to prepare the best room for you to stay in for a long time." "Ah, there's no need for that. Thank you for the trouble." Jiang Feng hurriedly waved his hand. "How many times can I come here? It's better not to waste the room. This time, I'm also planning to take a look and chat with my brother. I'll go down the mountain tomorrow morning. Unfortunately, my master isn't in the villa today. I've already sent him a message. Why don't you stay for a few more days? He'll come back as soon as possible." "Ah, let my brother be busy. It's fine even if he's not here. I'll take a walk around the villa and go down the mountain tomorrow morning. To tell you the truth, I snuck out. There are many things waiting for me to do in the royal army. Since that's the case, I won't keep you any longer." As soon as Xia whose voice fell, she suddenly turned her head and looked up. A woman's figure suddenly descended from the sky. She struck out with a mantis fist and went straight for Jiang Feng's forehead. However, at the same time, a masked woman appeared. She lifted her leg and kicked away the fatal punch. "What's the meaning of this?" Jiang Feng asked with a surprised expression. "Miss Jin, what are you doing?" Xia who asked as she looked at Jiang Yi, who remained silent, and then at Zhu Hisao, who took 2 steps back. "Xia who, don't block me. I'm going to kill this bastard." Jin Kumo's eyes turned red when she saw Jiang Feng. This was the guy who had led the army and killed many of Yi Zhen's brothers. "Jin Kumo, have you forgotten the villa master's rules?" Xia who frowned. "He said that anyone who enters the villa is a guest of the villa and is not to cause trouble. Of course I know the rules, but I can't care about that now that my enemy is here," Jin Kumo said and tried to get close again. But with a clang, a black sword stabbed into the ground in front of her. Jiang Yi stood on the sword and blocked her way. "Get out of my way." Jin Kumo knew that she was no match for this sword-bearing disciple. But Jiang Feng was here. She would not be satisfied if she did not take revenge. "It was the villa master who helped you in your most difficult time." Xia who reminded her. "Take it as giving face to the villa master. Please leave." Kumo, come back." Luo Shuewu's shout came from afar. Jin Kumo clenched her fists and stomped her feet before turning to leave. "I'm sorry to have startled you." Xia who cupped her hands at Jiang Feng and apologized. "It's all right. Aren't there experts in the villa protecting me very well?" Jiang Feng said as his gaze fell on Jiang Yi. "Heroine, can you let me see your true appearance?" "Sir, she's a sword-bearing disciple of our villa. But her face was disfigured, so she doesn't want to show it to others. Please forgive her." Xia who said hurriedly. "Hey, I just feel that she looks familiar. I seem to have seen her somewhere before." Jiang Yi ignored him and turned to leave, quickly disappearing into the darkness. "Butler Xia, may I know the name of this sword-bearing disciple?" Healthy food. Just as he finished speaking, he suddenly started foaming at the mouth. His eyes widened, and his expression became ferocious. His hands desperately clutched at his throat, and he bumped into the table and chair, kneeling on the ground. Master Jiang. Xia, who was shocked, and her heart was a little flustered. What was going on? Jiang Feng was poisoned. Impossible. The cafeteria was also guarded by disciples. Unauthorized people were not allowed to enter. Could it be that Yi Jian's men had snuck into the canteen and poisoned the food? It shouldn't be. After all, Jin Jiumo was rash, but Luo Xuewu was a sensible person. She would never do such a thing to ruin Li Fan's reputation. Who did this? What should I do now? Xia, who suddenly woke up and shouted loudly. Someone, carry Master Jiang to the infirmary. The Seven Knights Mountain Villa had its own medical facilities, and Takeda Lan personally oversaw it. In addition, there were several medical personnel hired with high salaries. It could be said to be foolproof. Moreover, there was Luo Xiaofeng's alchemy room, which could basically guarantee the health and hygiene of the villa. Jiang Feng was quickly sent to the infirmary. At this moment, a disciple at the foot of the mountain came to report. This is bad. There are many imperial guards and reporters at the foot of the mountain. They insist that we harmed their master and want to hand Jiang Feng over. Xia, who frowned deeply. At this moment, the other people in the villa had also arrived. Dongyi walked at the front and directly gave an order. Have the disciples seal off the villa. Without my order, no one is allowed to enter. Not even a fly is allowed to enter. Yes. Dongyi was appointed as a hall master by Li Fan, and he had the same level of authority as Li Fan. His words were definitely effective. Looking at Jiang Feng, who was lying there with his eyes rolled back, Dongyi bitterly smiled. What a good trick. This Jiang Feng is too difficult to deal with. Big brother Dong, what should we do? At this moment, Xia, who was also at a loss. She had been extremely careful and did not expect Jiang Feng to do this. Seal off the villa first. In this state, Jiang Feng cannot be handed over. Once he is handed over, I'm afraid it will bring disaster to the villa. But the disciples can't hold on for long. I think it won't be long before the police arrive. Xia, who calculated the time. Jiang Feng has already arranged everything. When the police arrive and see that the commander of the Imperial Guards was poisoned in my villa, this matter will be confirmed. Drug poisoning. Takeda Lan examined Jiang Feng. Even washing the intestines is useless. It seems to be some kind of Chinese poison that has penetrated into the bone marrow. Ruthless. Truly ruthless. Dongyi could not help but give Jiang Feng a thumbs up. This fellow is ambitious. I'm convinced. Dying like this is the end of all troubles. Jin Hisao stood at the side, crossed his arms, and sneered. Serves him right. Mao Mao, don't talk nonsense. Luo Xuewu reprimanded with an ugly expression. Jin Hisao shut his mouth. If anything happens to the commander of the Imperial Guards, the Seven Knights Villa will be finished. Long Fengyu was also a smart person. He reminded Jin Hisao, for the good of the villa, pray that this fellow will be fine. He definitely won't die. Dongyi concluded, but before the villa is destroyed, he absolutely won't get better. Go and find Luo Xiaofeng. Xia, who hurriedly urged people to find Luo Xiaofeng. Soon, this brother, dressed like a boiler worker, came over with a gourd. I heard about this matter. This is an antidote pill. It should be able to cure all poisons. Xia, who hurriedly took the antidote pill and stuffed it into Jiang Feng's mouth. But Jiang Feng was still lying there with white foam coming out of his mouth. This is really strange. My antidote pill actually doesn't work. Who made this poison? Could it be Song Fuya? Luo Xiaofeng muttered. Housekeeper Xia. We can't hold it anymore. The police are here. Another disciple came to report with a panicked expression. Got it. I'll go out and take a look. Xia, who knew that she could not panic at this moment. She turned around and walked out of the door. Dongyi and the rest followed her out to see how they could block the people outside. Soon, only 2 disciples were left in the infirmary. Jiang Feng was still lying there. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. At this time, Jiang Yi walked in and waved his hand at the two disciples, indicating them to go out. Chapter 1288. Jiang Feng laid on the sickbed, foaming at the mouth. He looked as miserable as he could be, completely losing his handsome appearance. Jiang Yi stood in front of him. Seeing his appearance, she finally couldn't help but speak. "Look at how miserable you are now." Jiang Feng's eyes were originally lifeless, but when he heard Jiang Yi's words, his eyes seemed to flash. If Jiang Shuetian knew that he gave birth to such a good-for-nothing son, he probably wouldn't be able to hold back his coffin. Jiang Feng suddenly wiped off the foam at the corner of his mouth, sat up, and looked at the young girl in front of him in shock. He couldn't control his emotions and grabbed the young girl's shoulders. "Jiang Yi, is that you?" Bang! Jiang Yi's essence chi flicked and shook off Jiang Feng's hand. She took 2 steps back and said to Jiang Feng, "Go back. The next time you want to come, declare war openly. That way, I can still look up to you." After Jiang Yi finished speaking, she didn't give Jiang Feng a chance to speak and turned to leave the infirmary. "Jiang Yi." Jiang Feng hurriedly ran out of the infirmary, but outside was a quiet courtyard with no one in sight. "Jiang Yi! Jiang Yi! Where are you?" Jiang Feng kept searching in the villa with an anxious expression. At this time, the reporters and the royal guards finally rushed in. "Hand over our commander-in-chief," a minister-level officer of the Imperial Army was shouting out according to a script that had been written. The reporters at the side also used all kinds of flashes, shining on him and the people from the 7 Heroes Villa. But at this time, a familiar figure attracted his attention. His commander-in-chief was standing in the courtyard, shouting an unfamiliar name, as if he was looking for something. "Jiang Yi, where are you?" "Jiang Yi." Jiang Feng was about to go crazy. He was desperately looking for traces of his sister. Was Jiang Yi really in the villa? Was she all right? Why was she here? "Jiang Yi, where did you go? Quickly come out and let Big Brother see you." Jiang Feng was like an ant on a hot pan, and the royal guards were all dumbfounded. What was the script going to be? This was completely out of the script. "Lord Jiang, are you feeling better?" When Xia, who saw Jiang Feng looking for Jiang Yi all over the courtyard, she knew what was going on. Looks like this time, Jiang Yi didn't hesitate to expose his identity to help resolve this crisis. However, it was not necessarily a good thing for Jiang Feng to know that his little sister was in the 7 Knights Villa. However, with Jiang Yi present, Jiang Feng would more or less restrain himself in the future. Since Lord Jiang is fine, follow them down the mountain. Xia, who started to ask him to leave. "Your subordinates have been waiting anxiously. Where's River Yi? Where was Jiang Yi? Hand her over." Jiang Feng grabbed Xia whose shoulders and roared at her. At that moment, Guan Wenbao raised his Yangyu blade and placed it on Jiang Feng's neck. "Let go of butler Xia." Guan Wenbao growled in a low voice. Jiang Feng pinched the edge of the crescent blade with 4 fingers and pulled it into his hand. Old Guan lost his grip on his crescent blade, and Jiang Feng pulled it out of his hand. Guan Wenbao was shocked. Jiang Feng had such strength. He was about to use his qi when Xia who spoke. "Enough. What do you want to do in front of so many people? Also, Lord Jiang, you're the commander of the royal guards and my master's sworn brother. That's why I'm treating you so kindly. But what do you mean by this? Do you want to be the enemy of our villa?" Since Jiang Feng was standing in front of them, Xia who didn't need to be polite anymore. Her attitude became unyielding. "I just want my sister back." Frowning, Jiang Feng suppressed the fire in his heart and said word by word. "Let her come out. We'll have a good talk. If she doesn't. What if she doesn't?" As Xia who spoke, the hundreds of experts behind her all gathered their true qi and glared at Jiang Feng. "Lord Jiang, do you think my master isn't here? If you want to touch the 7 Knights Villa for no reason, you'll have to ask the people here if they want to. You imprisoned my sister, Jiang Yi. I'm going to find her." Jiang Feng roared. "Is that so? Do you have any evidence?" Xia Hu questioned mercilessly. Even if you want to search, get a search warrant first. What do you want to do in front of these reporters? Just say it. Jiang Feng looked at the flashing lights around him and finally suppressed the anger in his heart. At least, he knew that Jiang Yi was still alive. Although he didn't know why she was in the villa, he would find out. Treat my sister well, or you'll have to bear the consequences. Jiang Feng turned around and waved his hand. Let's go. The group of royal guards had no choice but to act without justification. The Seven Knights Villa was not an ordinary family, and they could do whatever they wanted. The large group of people went down the mountain noisily. The reporters took photos for a while before following Xia Yi's kind suggestion and going down the mountain. Xia Yi heaved a sigh of relief after sending away all these pests. She cupped her hands and thanked Dong Yi, who was standing next to her. Thank you, Mr. Dong, for your advice. It's nothing. It's my duty. Dong Yi waved his hand. Since Jiang Yi's identity has been exposed, we have to be more vigilant. I think Jiang Feng won't let this go. Instruct the disciples to strengthen the patrols day and night. Don't let anyone sneak in. Unfortunately, the disciples are still not mature enough. Xia Yi shook her head. If only we could transfer the Li family's guards back from Li Family Island. The Li family's guards was a super guard group that Bai Lin Luo personally built for Li Fan. However, it was fine in Li Family Island. If it was moved to China, it would definitely not work. After all, with a full body of high-tech equipment, it would be like an anti-government force. It's okay. Murong loved to watch the show for half a day. At this time, she gave a suggestion. I heard from Dragon Girl that among the 12 heavenly generals, Pig Zhong Xinran's ability is mental power. She can cover the entire villa with her mental power as a barrier. If an outsider enters, she will be the first to sense it. 12 heavenly generals. Looks like I can only let junior brother be thick-skinned and ask General Ran for them. These 12 heavenly generals were all treasures of the government. There was already a dragon girl by Li Fan's side. If he were to borrow another person to be stationed here, General Ran would definitely feel the pinch. Explain the pros and cons. They will naturally agree. Murong loved to have the best relationship with Dragon Girl. She began to guarantee. That's a good idea. Big brother Guan, are you okay? Xia Yi looked at Guan Wenbao with concern. Yong Shuiyu was even more nervous. She was afraid that something would happen to her sweetheart. I'm fine. But that Jiang Feng's skills have improved a lot. Guan Wenbao frowned. This man is indeed a powerful opponent. Chapter 1289. What a good Jiang Feng. This move is really beautiful. After Li Fan finished filming and returned to the villa, he heard the whole story and angrily slapped the table. I have already asked General Ran for him. He will be sent over in a few days. However, Jiang Feng is also a problem. He is far more difficult to deal with than Murong Bo, Sima Hui and the others. This person is indeed very scheming. We have to be careful. Dong Yi sat next to him and touched his chin. I still suggest that brother, make the first move and gain the upper hand. Li Fan glanced at Jiang Yi, who was standing on his right side. She was like a statue, standing there without saying a word. Li Fan felt a bit sorry for her. Jiang Yi did not want to see her brother. This time for the villa, she actually made such a big sacrifice. The Seven Knights Villa is still recuperating. It is not suitable to confront the Imperial Army. Li Fan said, our current enemy is not the Imperial Army. However, this group of guys is just a group of jumping clowns. Who would have thought that now Jiang Feng is in power? This is not fun. Villa Master, what should we do next? Please tell us. Dong Yi could only help to come up with ideas. The real general direction still needs to be decided by Li Fan himself. First, tighten the defense. The focus of our attention is Dragon God number 1. Li Fan reminded everyone, now that the country is in trouble, the hatred within the nation can be put aside for now. Okay, we will listen to you. Dong Yi nodded. Everyone in the meeting hall discussed the development plan of the villa for a while. Only when it was almost night did they disperse. After everyone left, Jiang Yi still stayed by Li Fan's side. silently making tea for him. Jiang Yi, after seeing him, what do you think? Master, it is still the same feeling as before. Jiang Yi honestly replied, I don't like him, he lacks the backbone of a martial artist. Although I don't like him, I have to say, he is quite amazing. Li Fan said very justly, his living environment is much more difficult than mine, that is why he became so unscrupulous. Master, he wants to harm you. Why are you still speaking up for him? Jiang Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I guess that's just how I am. Li Fan shrugged. Master, you'll be at a disadvantage if you do this. That's not right. I, the little overlord, have some fame in the underworld. Who dares to make me suffer? Li Fan laughed. Let me tell you, before Li Fan could finish his words, the small door beside him was pushed open, and Murong anxiously walked in. Brother-in-law, save me, what's wrong? Who bullied you? When Li Fan saw Murong's anxious appearance, he couldn't help but feel a little distressed. It's not me. It's big sister, Murong Ying. What happened to her? Didn't she leave the country a while ago? Murong took out her phone. I have big sister's WeChat. I kept in touch with her a few days ago. But recently, I lost contact with her. Something must have happened to her. After all, their sisterhood was deep. Although they had a falling out last time, the two girls had now resumed their correspondence. Li Fan was not surprised. How could a family have any overnight hatred? Something must have happened. Li Fan felt that Murong might be overthinking. No. Big sister is going to do a very dangerous mission. I'm worried about her safety, so I made an agreement with her that she must send me a message every day. If she doesn't receive the message, then something must have happened to her. Oh, Li Fan pondered for a moment. Murong's worry was reasonable. Her big sister was a person who either did not say it, or she would definitely do it. Now that she began to lose contact, it meant that she really encountered some difficulties. Big sister must have had an accident. Murong tugged at Li Fan's sleeve. Brother-in-law, I beg you, hurry and save big sister. Okay, where is she? I'll go and find her. How could he not help Murong love when she begged him? Even if it wasn't for her, he would still help if something happened to Murong Ying. She's in South Korea. Murong Ari brought up the map on her phone and pointed at it. Here. Jiang Yi glanced at it and asked. Murong Ying went to Yuju? Yes, this should be the place where South Korea is preparing to install Archimedes. The so-called Archimedes was an anti-missile system developed by the United States. It looked like an anti-missile system, but it was actually used to detect the intelligence of the surrounding countries. Once South Korea installed Archimedes, the surveillance network would cover China, and Huaxia would no longer have any secrets. Li Fan also understood. Could it be that Murong Ying went to resolve this matter? Who was she representing? Was it a secret mission given to her by the royal military? However, the royal military belonged to the Dove faction. Would the Dove faction go against Archimedes? It didn't make sense. Xiao Ari, who sent your big sister? No one. She went on her own. Murong Love shook her head, her eyes filled with worry. Big sister said that she was just doing her duty as the chief of the martial arts world. This silly girl. Li Fan frowned deeply. That place must be filled with layers of checkpoints. Not only were there the armed forces of South Korea, but there might also be American forces involved. Every country had their own hidden forces. Even Murong Ying would be at a disadvantage if these forces were to clash with each other. Brother-in-law, I can only rely on you. Murong Love had no other way. Li Fan was the only person she could turn to. I understand. Don't worry, I'll definitely bring her back safely. But it's been a few days. Could something have happened to big sister? Don't worry, Murong Ying is a grandmaster after all. Her life shouldn't be in danger for the time being. Li Fan trusted Murong Ying. Just wait here. There's no time to lose. I'll set off now. If you're going out, bring it with you. Just as Li Fan was about to leave the hall, the dragon lady walked over. She raised a sword and handed it to Li Fan. This was the Shong Fang sword. Because Li Fan was still in his internship, It was usually handed to the dragon lady for safekeeping. Today, she actually took the initiative to give it to Li Fan. It was really rare. When you go out this time, you'll be representing Huaxia. I've seen the news for the past few days. Those bastards actually dared to challenge Huaxia. Don't stand on ceremony. Use the might of the Shongfang sword to shock them. The dragon lady patted her chest. I'll give you the authority. The dragon lady had a lot of authority. She was even more powerful than Li Fan. If she gave him the authority, then there would be no problem. Li Fan nodded. He took the Shongfang sword and hung it on his waist. Brother-in-law, be careful. I'll leave big sister to you. Murong Love couldn't help much. She could only watch as Li Fan left. Okay. Wait for me. I'll be back soon. Li Fan waved his hand and said goodbye to everyone. Then, he walked out of the hall and asked Big Dipper to arrange for him to go to South Korea through the escort route. Chapter 1290. The Lego Corporation was a large national corporation in South Korea. When they heard that South Korea was going to build the Archimedes system, the Lego Corporation decided to use the golf course in Yeoju as the base. To South Korea, the Lego Corporation was patriotic, but to countless Huaxia people, it was helping the wicked. Once the Archimedes system was built, Huaxia would never have any secrets. To change this, Murong Ying went to Yeoju alone. However, even with Murong Ying's strength, there was no news of her even after so long. That made Li Fan a little worried. There were not many people in the world who could defeat Murong Ying. And in this world, who could go against Murong Ying? A fishing boat slowly docked at the port of Yeoju. As usual, Li Fan walked to the port in a black tracksuit with the logo of the Seven Heroes Villa printed on the back. There were not many people at the port. It was remote and well hidden, so it seemed like no one came here. This was a secret route discovered by the security agency, so it was very safe. Villa Master, if there's anything, contact me with the satellite phone. The subordinate who was responsible for sending Li Fan over said to him. Okay, thank you. Li Fan cupped his fists at the subordinate, looked at the navigation map in his hand, and walked into the distance. This place is quite big. Li Fan could not help but mutter. Sir, you don't belong to this place, right? It seemed like because of the military base, there were almost no people living in Yeoju. For South Korea, where every inch of land was worth its weight in gold, it was rare. The place was filled with wilderness and lush greenery. Birds and cicadas chirped in their ears, and their bodies felt refreshed by the breeze. It was quite a comfortable place. However, at that moment, a figure slowly walked out from behind a tree. She was about 30 years old, and she was a charming woman in a black leather jacket. She looked at Li Fan and asked slowly. She spoke in Korean, and Li Fan could not understand her. She crossed her arms, thought for a moment, and changed to Mandarin. So, you're from Huaxia. Exactly. Li Fan didn't hide his identity at all. Please tell me where Archimedes is. Aren't you a little stupid? The man looked at Li Fan mockingly. We are the protectors of this place. You want to compete with me? Li Fan looked at him and was a little surprised. Looking at you, you seem to be a martial artist, right? Not a martial practitioner, but an ancient martial artist. The woman immediately curled her lips. Huaxia's martial arts were obviously passed down from our stick nation. You should respect history and tradition. Bullshit. Li Fan scolded. You are indeed from South Korea. How shameless. You are the shameless ones. My martial arts are the real ancient martial arts. The woman stretched out her hand and gathered her energy. When you see my power, you will understand what it means to be orthodox. Alright, then you have to let me have a good look. Li Fan stood on the spot and hooked his finger at the woman. Haha, although you are young, I will not go easy on you. As the woman spoke, she suddenly leaped up, raised her right leg high, and slammed it down on Li Fan from midair. Most of the martial arts in South Korea were based on kicking techniques. There was a good saying that the hands were two doors, and the legs were the only way to kick people. The kicking technique of South Korea could be said to have brought this into full play. The woman's kick was like a raised battle axe, and it instantly reached Li Fan's head. However, who was Li Fan? He was the protector of Huaxia and had the strength of a half-sage. How could he be hit so easily? Li Fan tilted his body slightly and dodged the woman's kick. At the same time, he grabbed the woman's collar with both hands and threw her to the ground. Bam! The woman's body landed heavily on the ground. Her face turned pale, and she grimaced in pain. However, she reacted quickly. She endured the pain and rolled on the ground. Then, she swept her leg and tried to take down Li Fan. Li Fan was not an ordinary person. He already knew this kind of trick. He kicked the woman's face. Before the woman could finish her sweeping kick, she was already kicked to the ground by Li Fan. Li Fan did not even need to use the Nine Dragons spell to deal with these so-called ancient martial artists. The woman's body slid backward from Li Fan's kick, and a deep ravine appeared on the ground. You should go back and practice more. Li Fan retracted his leg and steadied himself. He looked at the woman lying in the distance and tried to persuade her. Asiba. The woman crawled up pathetically and yelled, "We, the South Korean ancient martial artists, are undefeatable." As she spoke, the veins on her face bulged. Li Fan felt that the strength in her body suddenly began to increase, and it had reached a shocking level. Dragon chip. Li Fan instinctively thought of that. That was a genetic weapon developed by Huaxia and America. Since Huaxia had already begun to equip it, America should have quite a lot in stock. It should not be difficult to equip their police dogs with some in the South Korean country. Soon, the enchanting woman's body began to swell. Soon, the muscles on her body exploded, and she became like a King Kong Barbie. It was as strange as one could imagine. I'll let you know what real ancient martial arts are. The woman roared like a tiger and instantly appeared in front of Li Fan. Her leg landed solidly on Li Fan's body. Because it was too fast, Li Fan did not have time to dodge and was sent sliding backward from the kick. Li Fan hurriedly put his arms in front of him to protect himself. Now that he was kicked, he felt a little numb. He could not help but feel that the woman's enhanced strength was a little terrifying. This type of genetic chip could stimulate the human body's potential to the extreme, erupting superhuman strength. However, this kind of power that was increased in a hurry would also cause terrible damage to the body and bring about unavoidable side effects. Hey, did you see that? Your unorthodox Huaxia Kung Fu is useless now, isn't it? The woman mocked, and Li Fan followed suit. Relying on genetic weapons to increase your strength, and you have the nerve to mock us? Aren't you guys too shameless? How do you know about genetic weapons? The woman's face turned pale. Li Fan laughed loudly. If you don't want people to know, don't do it. Come, young master, I'll let you know who's orthodox. Go to hell. The woman leaped again and instantly appeared behind Li Fan. At the same time, she kicked Li Fan's lower back. Li Fan was one step faster. He leaned back and crashed into the woman's arms, his elbow hitting the woman's lower abdomen. Fart. The woman spat out a mouthful of bitter saliva. That hit was not light. Chapter 1291. Pop. The woman's body was beaten like a shrimp and flew out. She crashed into a few trees and finally fell into the pit. Li Fan stretched out a hand towards the woman and activated Dragon Capture Hand. The woman was lifted up in the air and floated in front of Li Fan. What kind of martial art is this? The woman was beaten up quite badly. Now, all the qi in her body has dissipated. She has already returned to her previous appearance. Her clothes are also tattered and exposed, but it does not arouse the interest of Li Fan at all. She struggled in the air in fear, but it was to no avail. You guys have inner strength but do not know how to use it. Back then, you guys only learned a few moves in China and you think you are the orthodox. What a joke. Li Fan's voice is cold and carries a hint of ridicule. Damn Chinese, you guys won't be happy for long. The woman cursed. When our Archimedes is completed, Your Chinese will be equivalent to a naked prostitute exposed in front of us. And that dragon god #1 of yours, with Archimedes, it will not have a chance to fly. Don't worry, you will be one step ahead of it. After Li Fan finished speaking, he stretched out his right hand and twisted. With a crack, the woman's neck was directly twisted. Her head tilted to the side and it seems that she is dead. Li Fan threw her corpse to the side, then slightly bent his knees and fiercely bounced up. He stepped on the cloud ladder and bounced in the air. In the blink of an eye, he jumped to a height of 100 meters. He filled his body with elemental energy. Time seemed to slow down, causing him to pause in the air for a short while. Taking this opportunity, Li Fan looked into the distance, looking for the direction where Archimedes might be. The surroundings are all wilderness, but there is a small town in the distance. But the town is empty, and the few residents here have already been forced to move away. 4 anti-missile and reconnaissance devices like Archimedes. Once a real war breaks out, this place will definitely be the first priority to be destroyed. Then, the residents living nearby will become the so-called cannon fodder. Looks like it is still not high enough. When Li Fan landed on the ground, he let out a long sigh. There must be a military base around Archimedes, but with this height, it should not be possible. What can I do? Li Fan was worried about Murong Ying and was at his wit's end. The Yuju was not small. It was obviously unscientific to search a military base in a blanket manner. Moreover, Murong Ying might not necessarily be in the military base. If he couldn't find her, how could he explain it to Murong? The world was so vast that it was difficult to even find a military base, let alone a living person. Murong Ying is a master of her generation. Even if she is captured, she can't hide her aura. Li Fan thought about it and decided to try another method. It was different from looking for Liu Wanna. Although Liu Wanna was also a martial practitioner, her aura was very weak, so it was harder to find her. However, it was different for Murong Ying. She was a master of her generation. Her aura was strong, and it could not be easily hidden. Li Fan sat cross-legged, crossed his arms, and began to feel the flow of the air around him. When Li Fan was fully focused, everything around him seemed to enter his heart. The wind blew, the grass moved, the birds flew, and the beasts moved. Time seemed to have stopped flowing. Li Fan felt that there were indeed some powerful auras in the vicinity. One should not underestimate the heroes of the world. Even in South Korea, there were still some powerful experts. However, their auras were sometimes strong and sometimes weak. They were not as sharp as Murong Ying's. Li Fan gradually extended his senses, allowing himself to become one with heaven and earth to search for Murong Ying's aura. Back in Japan, when he used the Star Luo power, he could even sense the existence of the entire city. Now, he was much stronger than he was back then. How could a small Yuju prefecture be a threat to him? Li Fan circulated his energy completely, as if encompassing heaven and earth. A wave of energy approached from afar, as if it was right in front of Li Fan. Li Fan felt as if he was standing under a cherry blossom tree. The cherry blossoms were falling, and it was a beautiful sight. Found it. Li Fan suddenly opened his eyes. This was indeed Murong Ying's aura. There was no mistaking it. Murong Ying, wait for me. I'm coming. Li Fan used Qinggong, stepping on grass without bending, stepping on water without falling. He rushed toward Murong Ying's location at lightning speed. General Kim, how long will it take to build this base? An official in a suit, surrounded by a group of soldiers, walked beside an old man who looked like a general. One of them was a commissioner of the government, and the other was a military general in charge of executing the project. Commissioner Lee, leave it to me. What else is there to worry about? General Kim snorted, I've been in the army for 50 years. In your eyes, don't tell me I don't even have the ability to do this. No, no, no. General Kim misunderstood. I didn't mean it that way. Commissioner Lee hurriedly explained, I'm also anxious. The higher-ups are pressing me. General Kim, do you think it's easy for me to be a commissioner? Right now, China has completely sealed us off. Our days are not good either. Don't we have the aid from the US? What are you afraid of? The US opened their big mouth and said that they would give us aid. But when it comes to it, we won't even see a dime. Commissioner Lee rolled his eyes and spread out his hands. Right now, we need to finish Archimedes as soon as possible. At that time, China will come and beg us. In a few days, we still need some final adjustments. But this part of the adjustment still needs to be done by the US researchers. They'll be here soon. Oh right, didn't you guys catch a Chinese woman a few days ago? How's her place? Oh, that's the leader of China's martial arts world. She's amazing. Many of my men died in her hands. If it weren't for that sound wave system, we wouldn't have been able to catch her. Hehe, no one is a match for our South Korea. What leader of China's martial arts world? That's all there is to it. Of course, she's trying to mess with us. Why don't you take a look at where their martial arts came from? We were the ones who taught them. The two of them became more and more excited as they talked, as if the South Korea was going to unify the world. In front of them was an anti-missile vehicle. That was the Archimedes system. However, there were still some final adjustments and the activation password in the hands of the US government. Once it was completed, China would no longer have any secrets. With this, China will submit to us sooner or later. Both of them were very pleased and waited for Archimedes to be completed. However, at that moment, a figure suddenly descended from the sky and stepped on top of Archimedes, coldly looking down. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt your sweet dreams. Chapter 1292. The two of them looked up, and their expressions darkened. The person who landed was an Asian man in black sportswear, but he spoke in Mandarin. Who's there? Following General Jin's shout, the surrounding soldiers all raised their guns. Don't take out these toys. The person who landed was none other than Li Fan. With a wave of his hand, the guns in the hands of the soldiers flew out and landed on the ground. What? Impossible. Everyone was shocked. They did not understand what was going on. Who are you? Commissioner Lee was trembling a little, but General Jin grabbed his hand and helped him stabilize his body and mind, then shouted at Li Fan. Tell me your name. Clang. A sword stabbed into the ground right in front of General Kim. Even General Kim could not help but break out in a cold sweat when he saw the shiny golden sword. What was going on? This was a military base, and they did not even know that someone had arrived in front of them. I am China's Shongfang sword. Shongfang sword? It's the man who defeated Takeda. Fuck, why is he here? The surrounding South Koreans started discussing. Shongfang sword, so it's you. General Kim was someone who had seen the world. He frowned and looked at Li Fan. I didn't expect you to be so young. Are you here to deal with Archimedes? That's part of the reason. But I also have a personal motive. What motive? General Kim asked instinctively. Everyone, you've captured my fiancée. Shouldn't you let her go? Fiancée? Oh, right. She has another identity. She's the chief of the martial arts community in China. Li Fan's smile sent chills down everyone's spines. That woman? General Kim and Commissioner Lee looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. What a guy. He came all the way here for his fiancée. What Shongfang sword? Even you have to admit defeat when you're with me. General Jin waved his hand. Do you think there's no one in our stick nation? As soon as he finished speaking, 4 strong men in military uniforms slowly walked over. The 4 of them walked in unison, and the aura they exuded was extraordinary. It seemed like they had a powerful background. These 4 are the emissaries of justice that we painstakingly nurtured. General Jin smiled confidently. The 4 of them are more than enough to kill you. Really? I'd like to try. Li Fan landed and stepped on the hilt of his sword as he looked at the 4 cold-faced men around him. Come, brothers, who wants to go first? Mandarin was popular in South Korea a few years ago, and the people here learned some of it. Therefore, they could understand what Li Fan was saying. As soon as Li Fan finished speaking, the 4 of them stood there motionlessly, looking at him coldly. You guys go ahead. Let him know the power of an envoy of justice. General Jin ordered, and the four of them suddenly charged at Li Fan together. The four of them were extremely fast, as if they had cheats. They reached Li Fan in an instant and threw a punch at Li Fan at the same time. Clang! The four punches landed on Li Fan's body at the same time. However, Li Fan kept his hands in his pockets and took all four punches with his body. He channeled his primordial chi to protect his body, as if he was wearing a layer of armor to protect himself. The four of them took a step back at the same time, and General Jin frowned. Is this kid's protective skill that strong? However, Li Fan was also at a disadvantage. The four of them had impressive arm strength, and Li Fan's chi and blood surged from their attacks. The four of you are going at me together? That's pretty rude. Li Fan sized up the four of them seriously. I'm afraid these four aren't humans, right? You have a good eye. General Jin chuckled. These four are all modified androids. They've integrated our stick nation's martial arts techniques and powerful technology. No one is a match for them. I wonder how the four of them will fare against my wife. Li Fan suddenly asked. General Jin did not say anything. All right, I understand. Li Fan laughed. Come, I'll give you 1 minute to release my wife. 1 minute. They can only hold on for 1 minute. As Li Fan spoke, he leaped and instantly appeared in front of one of the androids. That android stretched out his arms to block in front of him. Meanwhile, Li Fan had already kicked his arms, causing the android to take a step back, leaving him wide open. Li Fan then turned around and kicked the android's head away with a dragon-slaying platform. However, another android had already arrived behind Li Fan and stretched out his right palm. A white light cannon shot out from his palm and was fired at Li Fan. Li Fan's body spun and dodged the opponent's light cannon in the air. At the same time, he struck out with his palm and landed it on the android's chest. Bang! The android's upper body was blasted into pieces, leaving no bones behind. Come back. General Jin finally realized that the situation was not good. This kid was so difficult to deal with. There were still 2 emissaries of justice left. He could not let them die in vain. Speaking of which, there were originally 108 emissaries of justice in this place. Now, there were only 4 left. The reason was that they were all destroyed by that so-called female chief. Prepare the sonic cannon. General Jin waved his hand, and a few armored vehicles suddenly drove over, surrounding Li Fan in the center. What? Are you trying to hit me with the vehicles? Li Fan looked around. You'll know soon enough. Brat. General Jin said and gave the order. Fire the cannon. As soon as he said that, a trumpet-like weapon suddenly popped out from the armored vehicles in all directions. In an instant, an extremely powerful sonic wave burst out. Like a wave, it struck Li Fan's body in an instant. Li Fan felt as if his body was in a raging wave, causing Li Fan to lose his balance and directly kneeled on the ground. He hurriedly stabilized his body. With one hand holding the sword, he stabbed it into the ground to support his body. Damn it! Li Fan secretly cursed in his heart. He finally understood why Murong Ying died. People who practice martial arts can use their vitality to protect their body. However, the only thing that cannot be protected is their ears. The higher one's martial arts, the better one's hearing. To them, this kind of sonic wave is simply a terrifying killing weapon. Murong Ying's martial arts is very high. This move must be very profound. Ha ha ha, what Chinese divine sword. Obediently accept your death. General Jin and Commissioner Li laughed. They were very proud of themselves. Humph. However, Li Fan sneered. This move may be very effective against Murong Ying, but he just thought of a way to restrain it. Chapter 1293. In addition to Yuan Qi, Li Fan is also proficient in the spiritual force that Wang Luo helped him develop. He directly used his spiritual force to seal his hearing, and the surrounding world became quiet. Although the sound wave hit Li Fan, his body was protected by Yuan Qi, so he was naturally unharmed. Li Fan slowly stood up under everyone's astonished gaze. Although he couldn't see what those people were talking about, it doesn't matter anymore. Li Fan stretched out his right hand, the surrounding soil on the ground flew up and quickly condensed into a stone sword in his palm. Little fourth style, dragon subduing sword. This palm-sized stone sword directly flew out of his hand, instantly crossed a distance of tens of meters, and directly pierced through an armored vehicle. Boom! The armored vehicle instantly exploded, scaring Commissioner Li. And Li Fan continued to control the dragon subduing sword and pierced through several armored vehicles. This thick armor can't stop Li Fan's stone sword. Explosions one after another, Commissioner Li was somewhat unable to stand still. What should I do? Seeing Li Fan pierced through the last armored vehicle, Commissioner Li hurriedly shouted. Commissioner, don't panic, I still have a last resort, General Jin said and ordered his men. Is it over? Li Fan once again released his hearing and asked. Of course, come and see what this is. General Jin clapped his hands, the door of a truck next to him opened, and a shelf was pushed out from inside. Li Fan looked at it, and suddenly became a little excited. The one on the shelf is none other than his former fiancée, Murong Ying. She is still wearing a beautiful cheongsam, even if she fainted, she is still so beautiful that no one dares to profane her. Put her down. Seeing Murong Ying like this, Li Fan immediately got angry. His fighting spirit is quite strong, while General Jin sneered again and again. Fine, I will do as you wish, put her down. He gave a look to his men, who took out a strange remote control and pressed it twice. Murong Ying, who was unconscious on the shelf, suddenly woke up. She opened her eyes and looked at Li Fan. However, her eyes were lifeless, completely different from Murong Ying's usual piercing gaze. Murong Ying? Li Fan called out twice, but Murong Ying did not say a word, as if she did not know Li Fan. What did you do to him? Li Fan frowned and questioned. We have a chip that can be implanted into a person's brain. General Jin chuckles. Using this, you can increase a person's strength, and at the same time, you can control a person's brain. Remember, the person standing in front of you now is not your fiancé, but a warrior of our South Korea. No matter how powerful you are, can you compare to her? While speaking, Murong Ying had already left her stance. She stretched out a hand and pointed at Li Fan. The cherry blossom sword aura that filled the sky rushed toward Li Fan. How dare you guys control her? You deserve to die. Murong Ying was extremely conceited. If she found out that she was being controlled, she would definitely wish she was dead. How could Murong Ying's pride be tarnished by these people? Li Fan leaped more than 5 meters into the air, then slammed his palm down. Li Fan did not want to hurt Murong Ying, so he used a weakened version of the Dragon King seal in an attempt to pin Murong Ying to the ground with his powerful primordial chi. However, Murong Ying is Murong Ying. Even if she was being controlled, she still had the instinctive reflexes of a powerful person. The cherry blossom sword aura wrapped around her, shredding the surrounding primordial chi. Then, Murong Ying jumped on the spot and leaped into the air, catching up to Li Fan. Murong Ying slashed her hand and Murong's sword finger went straight for Li Fan's throat. Good timing. Li Fan could not help but sigh. No matter what, Murong Ying's strength was always amazing. He did not dare to hold back. Following that, he used Thunder Dragon Heavenly Punishment and chopped at Murong Ying's sword finger. Clang, clang, clang. In an instant, the two of them exchanged more than 10 moves. Waves of air constantly exploded in the air, causing the eyes of the people below to widen. Good heavens, is this the legendary fight between immortals? Li Fan and Murong Ying exchanged blows while falling to the ground. The two of them landed on the ground at the same time, then their palms met. Bang! The two of them used their inner force. However, in this aspect, Murong Ying was obviously inferior to Li Fan. Although Murong Ying's inner force was superior to Li Fan's at the start, it was unable to withstand Li Fan's hard work and fortuitous encounters. Later on, Li Fan cultivated the 9 Truths technique and achieved great success in his primordial chi. He was already a half-saint, much stronger than Murong Ying. Now that they were using their inner force, Murong Ying could only hold on for half a minute before she was sent flying. What's going on? Is the warrior you recruited not good enough? Commissioner Li's face was ashen as he looked at General Jin. Don't be afraid. The chip can still increase your strength. General Jin snatched the remote control and pressed a button. Murong Ying shouted and a 5-meter-tall cherry blossom war god appeared behind her. It picked up a cherry blossom sword and slashed at Li Fan's head. This cherry blossom war god is real. Li Fan laughed loudly. The Valkyrie appeared right after. She raised her palm and slapped the cherry blossom sword. Clang! The cherry blossoms scattered. The cherry blossom war god was slightly disorganized, but it quickly reformed. Murong Ying's eyes glowed red. She activated the cherry blossom war god and exchanged a few blows with Li Fan's Valkyrie. Bang, bang, bang. Explosions rang out in the air. The two of them were locked in a stalemate. However, Murong Ying did not have a mind, and Li Fan was holding back. Why do I feel that she can't win? Commissioner Li's frown deepened. Who are you talking about? Of course it's that woman. I told you, the people from Huaxia are unreliable. We still have to use our Stick Nation's warriors. General Jin scoffed inwardly when he heard Commissioner Li's words. Almost all the Stick Nation's warriors were dead. Go and help. General Kim gave the order, and the two South Korean envoys of justice immediately appeared beside Li Fan in a flash. While Li Fan was fighting with Murong Ying, they stretched out their hands and aimed their palms at Li Fan. Bang, bang. Two light cannons exploded and hit Li Fan's body. Even if Li Fan had vitality to protect his body, those two hits were enough to deal with. Shameless bastard. Li Fan's eyes flashed with rage. With a wave of his hand, vitality surged, and the two androids were sent flying. However, Li Fan could not get the chance to kill them. Murong Ying took the opportunity to attack continuously, forcing Li Fan to fight back and unable to divert his attention to deal with the others. This is a good chance to kill him. Don't miss it. General Jin saw Li Fan's predicament. He pointed at Li Fan and said, "Quick, kill him. Don't give him a chance to turn things around." The two Stick Nation androids activated their maximum power. Their eyes were glowing red, and their bodies were spewing white smoke. Chapter 1294. These two things were like steam engines, and Li Fan took another look at them. Damn, this South Korea is really ruthless. Using this method, these two so-called envoys of justice probably won't be able to live for long. Quick! Kill him! Kill these two Huaxia people as well! Commissioner Li shouted and urged the two androids. The two androids aimed at Li Fan and opened their mouths. White light flashed in their mouths, and a huge force was gathering inside. Even Li Fan felt the threat of this force. If it hit him, he probably wouldn't be able to withstand it either. Bam, bam. Two half-meter thick mouth cannons shot out from the androids' mouths. One shot at Li Fan, and the other shot at Murong Ying. Li Fan frowned, and the Valkyrie behind him suddenly unleashed a Thunder Dragon Heavenly Punishment, instantly shattering Murong Ying's cherry blossom war god. Li Fan dove into Murong Ying's arms, but Murong Ying instantly stretched out two fingers and stabbed Li Fan's shoulder with a finger sword. Li Fan didn't dodge and took the attack head-on. Then, he hugged Murong Ying and held her in his arms. True dragon golden body. The golden light instantly enveloped the two of them. The Valkyrie was also enveloped in the golden light. She put her palms together and protected them like an old monk in meditation. Clang! The two light cannons blasted on the golden body, but it didn't budge. Commissioner Li and General Kim couldn't react for a long time. They were unharmed. How could this be? That was the full-force attack of the envoys of justice, which was equivalent to the main cannon of a frigate. But now, it was completely useless. Quick, continue to fire. We can always. Before Commissioner Li could finish, Li Fan suddenly dispersed his golden body. He held the Shongfang sword in one hand and swung it, creating a sword aura. Swoosh! As the sword chi swept past, Commissioner Li's upper body slowly slid down from the stump, and then blood spurted out like a fountain. Li Fan swung the Shongfang sword again, and another sword beam flew out, cutting the two androids that had yet to cool down in half. General Jin was completely stunned. What kind of power was this? All of his bargaining chips were actually ineffective. Then let's blow them up together. General Kim held the remote control in his hand. For our stick nation. Clang. The Shongfang sword flew out and knocked away the remote control in General Jin's hand. This treasured sword pierced through General Jin's throat. General Jin slowly kneeled down and prostrated himself on the ground. Li Fan stretched out his hand and pulled the Shongfang sword back to him through the air. Without the remote control, Murong Ying seemed to have lost her ability to move. She stood there, motionless. The rest of you, I will give you 30 seconds. Li Fan held the Shongfang sword and looked at the Stick Nation soldiers around him. If you don't leave, you'll die. The soldiers looked at each other, but none of them left. They raised their guns again and aimed at Li Fan. I see. Not bad. Li Fan nodded. He swung the Shongfang sword in his hand continuously, and the sword chi shot out, killing all the soldiers around him. We're all serving our masters. Sorry. After Li Fan finished speaking, he suddenly half knelt down and propped the sword on the ground again to stabilize his body. He spat out a mouthful of blood. The crimson rose bloomed on the ground, and it was exceptionally beautiful. Li Fan's chest was still bleeding. The injury that Murong Ying gave him was not light. Murong Ying's sword chi was still lingering on the wound, and it kept tearing at Li Fan's wound, preventing it from healing. Li Fan consumed a rejuvenation pill, but with this, it would take some time for Li Fan's wound to heal. Although it was a loss, at least he managed to save Murong Ying. That was good enough. However, Murong Ying was still in a daze. There was still a chip controlling her in her brain. If he didn't remove the chip, she probably wouldn't be able to recover. Li Fan recovered for a while and stood up slowly. Then, he picked up the Shongfang sword and swung it at Archimedes in front of him. The sword energy swept out, directly splitting the missile vehicle into two. However, he didn't stop. He carried the Shongfang sword and destroyed most of the military base. Then, he put the sword back to his waist and carried Murong Ying. However, before he left, Li Fan suddenly turned around, kicked open a box at the side, and looked at a Stick Nation clerk hiding behind it. The clerk hugged his arms and trembled. He looked at Li Fan in fear as if he was looking at a demon. I'll let you live so that you can tell them that if they dare to mess with Archimedes again in the future, my Shongfang sword will definitely visit again. With that, Li Fan stomped his foot on the ground, leaving a deep footprint on the ground. The clerk was so scared that he almost peed his pants. Meanwhile, Li Fan carried Murong Ying, turned around, and left on the breeze. Murong Ying's body was still unwell, so she couldn't travel a long distance. Li Fan thought about it and made a decision. Instead of going far, it was better to place her nearby. There were many empty houses in Yuju County, and no one lived there. It was suitable for recuperating. Li Fan found a house. It was a 2-story building with a single door and a courtyard. This room made Li Fan recall the past. The two of them, as well as Tai Zhu, lived in a small Western-style building that was about the same size. At this time, Murong Ying was lying on the bed. Li Fan couldn't care less about anything else. He pulled off her cheongsam and made her sit cross-legged in front of him. Then, Li Fan pressed his hands on Murong Ying's smooth back and channeled primordial energy into her body. Even though she was as beautiful as a painting, Li Fan didn't dare to have any thoughts about her. He didn't want to trigger his inner demons and ruin his recuperation. The chip was stuck in Murong Ying's brain. Li Fan didn't know how to operate and didn't know how to remove it. However, from the looks of it, forcing it out with primordial energy was the best way. The primordial energy in Li Fan's body was as vast as the sea. It kept pouring into Murong Ying's body, filling her body with primordial energy, and then slowly channeling it into her brain. Through this primordial energy, Li Fan saw Murong Ying's brain. There was indeed a chip implanted in the back of Murong Ying's head. However, there were many tiny nanoneurons on the chip, which were connected to Murongying's brain. If Li Fan moved a little too much, he was afraid that Murongying would suffer irreparable brain damage. Li Fan could only do it bit by bit. He couldn't rush it. He roughly counted. There were a total of 72 nanoneurons in Murongying's chip. If he wanted to remove the chip, he had to cut off all 72 nanoneurons. This was a huge surgical process. Even Li Fan didn't dare to be careless. He began to control his primordial energy and slowly made it smaller, like a miniature scalpel. However, Li Fan didn't dare to take the risk of cutting off two at once. It was too dangerous. He continued to shrink his primordial energy, keeping it the same size as the nanoneurons. Chapter 1295. By the time Li Fan cut open a neuron, he was already sweating profusely and exhausted. Li Fan let go of Murongying, leaned back, crossed his arms, and recuperated his internal force. Li Fan's internal force was not weak, but it did not mean that he had endless power. After cutting a neuron for Murongying, Li Fan had exhausted his physical strength and was so tired that he was panting. Damn, I got a big job. Li Fan wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. He was a little exhausted and quickly took out an elemental recovery pill. However, Li Fan glanced at the elemental recovery pill and hesitated for a moment. Today, he only cut open one neuron, and there were still 71 left. With his strength, he was afraid that he could only cut one neuron a day. Li Fan put down the elemental recovery pill and circulated his internal force for a while. After recovering a little, he stood up and carefully laid Murongying on the bed. After that, he found a loose pajama from the wardrobe and helped her change into it. Anyway, they had slept together before, so it was not a big deal to change clothes. He would suffer some losses. After Li Fan had a feast for his eyes, he also took advantage of her. Only then did he settle Murongying down. You, have a good sleep first. Li Fan was full of lust. He stood by the bed and looked at Murongying, who was lying motionless on it. I'm going out to see if there's anything to eat. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. After that, Li Fan left the bungalow and went to the supermarket in town. The residents of this place left in a hurry. It seemed that they had also received some compensation from the government. Therefore, the local buildings basically did not change much. They left in their original state. Li Fan walked into the supermarket. It was full of food, and there was no shortage. Well, this is quite convenient. Li Fan picked up some daily necessities and food and stuffed them into a cart. He also found some medicine and put it inside. Li Fan strolled around the supermarket and found a large freezer. He looked at the freezer thoughtfully. This time, they might have to fight a protracted war, so they had to prepare more. He pushed the cart with one hand and lifted the 1-meter-tall freezer with the other. In the hands of Li Fan, this 1,000-pound freezer was like a toy. He lifted it up high and dragged it all the way to the small house he lived in. There's nothing to do here. Let's practice my martial art first. Li Fan placed the freezer in the living room and plugged it in. He was very good at martial arts, but it was hard for his inner force to improve. He could only cultivate day and night and slowly improve. However, in terms of external martial arts, there were still areas that could be strengthened. Li Fan always felt that his profound Dragon Ice Palm's fire level was still not high enough, and he needed to practice more. However, to practice this kind of palm technique, if it was in ancient times, one would have to find an ice cave with 10,000-year-old black ice to practice. But now, with the advancement of technology, there were more ways to practice martial arts. The freezer had been powered on for a day, and Li Fan had put a few basins of water in it. Now, it was frozen solid, and his hand hurt when he touched it. It's about time. Li Fan opened the freezer and pressed his left hand on the ice. The cold air entered Li Fan's left hand through his skin. Luo Li Fan's left hand became as white as jade, as if it was carved out of ice and snow. The cold air entered his bones. In the past, Luo Shuawu even went berserk in order to practice martial arts, and her entire body was sealed in ice. And when Li Fan practiced this profound dragon ice palm, his entire left hand was also frozen into an ice sculpture. When the cold air entered his body, Li Fan felt pain. However, this also made him very happy. Pain meant that the cold air was indeed growing. This profound dragon ice palm, when practiced to the extreme, would hurt both others and oneself. It was a bit like the 7 injuries fist. However, in order to become stronger, this little bit of sacrifice was still necessary. Li Fan was originally a martial arts fanatic, and he also had a bunch of strong enemies. It wouldn't do if he didn't practice a shorekill technique. Looking at the cold air on his hand, a smile slowly appeared on Li Fan's face. Li Fan stayed here for almost 2 months. In these 2 months, he fed Murong Ying every day, wiped her body, and even went to the toilet on time. Murong Ying was like a vegetable now, and all her daily life needed to be taken care of by others. In the past, Murong Ying had also helped him a lot. Now, it was time to return the favor. Every time Li Fan felt bitter and tired, he would comfort himself like this. And in these 2 months, he didn't know how many ice cubes he had refined. And his profound dragon ice palm had also improved a lot. Today was the same. Li Fan sat on the bed, circulating his energy for Murong Ying. There were 72 neurons in his body. Sometimes, 1 or 2 of them were broken. In these 2 months, he was almost done. Just 2 more, and he would be able to end this trip to South Korea. At this time, Li Fan frowned slightly. He didn't expect that there would be guests in these last 2 days. A group of people dressed in white tai-kai suits rushed in, and each of them carried an 8 trigram saber. This group of people were all top-notch experts in South Korea. They practiced the top-notch local martial arts, and now, they had the chip to strengthen their abilities. This group was now called the Tai-Kai Warriors. There were 12 of them, and they were known as the strongest in South Korea. They were here this time to kill this evil person who came to South Korea to commit evil. Such an evil person dared to do as he pleased in South Korea, and he even ruined Archimedes' plan. South Korea couldn't answer to the United States. It was too despicable. Jin Jungfeng, where are you now? A man's voice came from the earpiece. This person was none other than the Vice President of South Korea. Ever since the incident, they had been searching for information about this Shongfang sword. Because they immediately sealed off all the exits and realized that the Shongfang sword did not escape, they searched within the country and finally found traces of him near the area where the incident happened. The most dangerous place was also the safest place. The Chinese really liked to play this kind of trick. We're near, about 100 meters away. The handsome man in the lead pressed his finger on his earlobe, and there was a rice-sized earpiece inside. He looked at the bungalow not far away with a cold gaze. If there's any danger, get away from that place immediately. There are missiles locked on to that place. This is our problem. Leave it to us. Jin Jungfeng was a little displeased. Don't you trust us? Don't be afraid of accidents, just in case. Jin Jungfeng had some reputation and status in South Korea. Even the vice president had to give him some face. I'll bring that brat's head to you. Jin Jungfeng looked at his companions as he spoke. Everyone, let's get ready. Don't worry. Leave it to us. The other 11 people were also top-notch experts. They exuded a terrifying aura as if they wanted to devour this place. Let's go. Let him stay in South Korea. Jin Jungfeng led these people and quickly approached the bungalow. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.